Chapter 52. The clan leader was very surprised. "Why do you say that?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "From the conflict between the Ghost Sect and the Jin clan, it can be seen that the Ghost Sect has different attitudes towards us old clans. The Liang clan's ancestor, the Jin clan's ancestor, and the black-robed old man all want to kill us. Elder Lu and Elder Zhou have an ambiguous attitude towards the old clans, neither suppressing nor protecting them. Although the Yang clan's ancestor is protecting them, they dared to use the Yang clan as cannon fodder in the Carriage Gorge battle. What does our Wang clan count for?" Moreover, the Ghost Sect knew that there was an ambush but didn't reveal it to the affiliated clans. It's clear that they're using the two clans to consume the strength of the affiliated clans. Grandson's words are not for the clan to fight against the Ghost Sect, but to remind the clan leader and the elders that even if they successfully integrate into the Ghost Sect, it's not all good. Now that the Thousand Spirit Sect and the Cruel Sun Palace have joined forces to fight against the Ghost Sect, although there won't be a big battle for the time being, it's hard to say what will happen in the future. The Ghost Sect doesn't have much of a chance of winning. It's not a wise move for our Wang clan to bet on the Ghost Sect. If one doesn't think for the future, there will be immediate troubles. If we don't leave a way out now, once the Ghost Sect is defeated in the future, where will our Wang clan go? We can't live under the same sky as the Cruel Sun Palace, and now we've killed a foundation establishment cultivator of the Thousand Spirit Sect. At that time, there won't be a place for the Wang clan in Zhao." After listening to Wang Daoyuan's words, everyone in the hall fell into deep thought. Everyone was well aware of the Ghost Sect's attitude towards the old clans. They were just weak and didn't have the ability to resist. It wasn't that they didn't think of a way out, but it wasn't easy to find one. To the east of the Jade Spring Peak was the insurmountable Sky Beheading Mountain Range. Demon beasts ran rampant in the mountains. It was said that there were fifth-rank demon beasts comparable to Yuanian cultivators. Only rogue cultivators roamed around the edges. Any mountain with a spirit vein was occupied by demon beasts. There was no condition to establish a clan. To the south of the Jade Spring Peak was the Qingli River. There were hundreds of mountains with spirit veins, but they all had their own clans belonged to the Ghost Sect and couldn't be touched. The Qingli River flowed south and eventually joined the Wanchuan River. South of the Wanchuan River was the territory of the Thousand Spirit Sect. If the Wang clan dared to develop in the territory of the Thousand Spirit Sect, they would be torn apart by the Underworld Sect. To the west was the core area of the Underworld Sect, and further west was the Cruel Sun Palace, which was the Wang family's mortal enemy. North of Mount Huiyan was the territory of the North Mountain Demon Clan. The north of the mountains was a bitter and cold place. It was not easy for demons to survive there, let alone humans. In addition, the North Mountain Demon tribe was on good terms with the Underworld Sect. If the Underworld Sect wanted to get rid of the Wang family, the North Mountain Demon tribe would be more than happy to help. Seeing that no one had anything to say, Wang Shui opened his mouth and said, "If the family wants to leave a way out in case of a disaster in the future, I have an idea." "What is Shui's opinion?" Great Elder Wang Jiren asked excitedly. "Tell us quickly." The others also looked anxious. Although they couldn't think of a way out, it didn't mean that they didn't care about the future of their families. Who didn't want to leave a way out for their descendants to ensure that the family's legacy would continue? However, their abilities and knowledge were limited, so they didn't know what to do. Now that Wang Shui said that he had an idea, they naturally wanted to know. Wang Shui didn't keep them in suspense and said 5 words, the 13 families of Linhai. Everyone in Zhao knew about the 13 families of Linhai. The Wanchuan River was the largest river in Beiyuan Shoshin. The water flowed from west to east, breaking through the obstruction of the Sky Beheading Mountain Range and flowing into the sea. The river flowed between the mountains of the Sky Beheading Mountain Range. There were dangerous beaches and rapids along the way. After passing through the Sky Beheading Mountain Range, the water flow became gentle. The sand carried by the river was deposited here. After a long time, a vast plain was formed east of the Sky Beheading Mountain Range. When Zhao was founded, Linhai County was established here. The descendants of the main family were given the title of Linhai County Prince to manage Linhai County. However, Linhai County was blocked by mountains and could only be connected through the Wanchuan River. The waterways were filled with dangerous beaches and there were also aquatic demon beasts causing trouble. The Zhao imperial family couldn't control Linhai County and it was gradually controlled by the families established by rogue cultivators. After thousands of years, Linhai County was occupied by the 13 families. The Zhao imperial family also became one of the 13 families, the Zhao clan. Each of the 13 families had more than one Violet Palace realm cultivator. The stronger families even had Golden Core realm ancestors. The 13 families intermarried for generations and their relationships were complicated. Once they joined forces, their strength wasn't inferior to any of the three major sections. The three major sects destroyed the Zhao clan and massacred the remnants of the Zhao clan. However, they didn't dare to make a move against the Zhao clan, which was a legitimate Zhao imperial family. The strength of the 13 families was evident. Linhai County was located at the mouth of the Wanchuan River. After thousands of years of erosion, their territory grew larger and larger. Furthermore, the Zhao imperial family couldn't control that area. Thus, the 13 families changed Linhai County to Linhai Province. Each family's territory was called a county and thus, they were called the 13 Linhai counties. Of course, the 13 counties were only an exaggeration. The entire Linhai province was equivalent to 3 or 4 Qingli counties. The average size of each county wasn't even a third of Qingli County's size. The 13 families were very xenophobic. If outsiders dared to interfere, they would definitely be suppressed. Even the three major sects were no exception. The Myriad Spirit sect and the Netherworld sect ruled by the river. The 9 counties north of the river were governed by the Netherworld sect. The 4 counties south of the river were governed by the Myriad Spirit sect. However, the Violet Palace realm cultivators that the 2 sects sent to govern the Linhai province had mysteriously disappeared. The 2 sects wanted to join forces to flatten the Linhai province. However, the reality was harsh. If they attacked with all their strength, the cultivators below the Violet Palace realm wouldn't even be able to pass through the Heaven/Mountain range. If only the cultivators above the Violet Palace realm died and a few Golden Core realm cultivators were lost, they wouldn't even be able to hurt the 13 families. The 2 sects couldn't bear such a price. In the end, they had no choice but to negotiate. The 2 sects requested for the 13 families to submit on the surface and not interfere in the affairs of the Linhai province. As long as they paid regularly, the 2 sects would reward them with more things. In this way, the 2 sects would gain face and the 13 families would gain benefits. The 2 sects were afraid that the 13 families would expand inland, and the 13 families were afraid that the 2 sects would fight to the death. Under the fear of both sides, the agreement was successfully reached. The 13 families of the Linhai province resisted the 2 sects, making the Linhai province a refuge for desperados. It was very suitable for rogue cultivators to go to the Linhai province. If a family wanted to move there, they would have to witness the strength of the 13 families. Thus, the Wang family was very puzzled by Wang Shui's words. Wang Shui saw that everyone was puzzled and explained, although the Linhai province is powerful and rich, it only lacks one thing, ores. Because that place is filled with sand from the mouth of the river. Even the spiritual mountains of the various families are where there are spirit veins. They are all piled up with earth element techniques. There are no mines at all. The terrain of the west side of the Heaven/Mountain range is complicated. There are many small mountain ranges and peaks. There are many small mines without spirit veins. The terrain of the east side is simple. There are a lot of high mountains and very few small mines. Large mines are usually accompanied by spirit veins, but they are all occupied by demonic beasts. No one dares to mine there. Thus, whether it is ores or stones, the Linhai province is extremely lacking. Although the waterway is difficult to travel, it is not impossible. I once heard that there is a special spirit boat that can fly close to the water surface without fear of dangerous shoals. If we can get this spirit boat and find a way to avoid demonic beasts, we can sell the ores produced by the family to the Linhai province and establish a foothold in the Linhai province. Of course, the family's development goal is not the Linhai province. Our necks are not as hard as their knives. There are many islands near the mouth of the 10,000 rivers. We can set up a shop in the Linhai province to sell ores. Using this as a springboard, we can choose a suitable unowned island and gradually move some of our family members there to establish a foundation. Our Wang family mainly uses water element techniques. When we go to the sea, we are like a flood dragon entering the sea. If there is a day when we have a golden core cultivator in the family, our Wang family may be able to become the 14th family in the Linhai province. The elders were very tempted by Wang Shui's words. If they could really establish a foundation in the Linhai province, it would definitely be better than being a grandson of the Netherworld sect. Chapter 53. Wang Jian nodded and said, Shui's idea is indeed not bad. It's just that traveling through the heavenly/mountain range is still quite risky. The transportation cost is hard to say. This isn't something that can be completed in a short period of time. It will require decades or even centuries of effort. In my opinion, it's better to buy a spirit boat first and try it in Linhai State. Even if it doesn't work, it can also add a new transportation tool for the family. The elders did not have any objections. They were originally very tempted by this plan. They were just worried that the plan would consume too many resources and affect the family's normal operations. According to the patriarch, executing the plan step by step would greatly reduce the financial pressure. Even if the plan didn't work, the family would not lose anything. It concerned the family's future. The elders naturally all agreed. Seeing that no one objected, Wang Jian said, since no one has any objections, then confirm this plan and prepare to execute it. Shui, you often travel outside and have a wide network. This plan will be carried out by you. Inquire about the flying spirit boat first. Only with the spirit boat can we carry out the later part of the plan. After all, the plan was just proposed. It was inevitable that there would be shortcomings. If others have any good suggestions, you can also raise them. Dao Yuan, you were the one who suggested leaving a way out for the family. You should have some ideas, right? Tell us. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, Patriarch, I do have some ideas. But compared to the 12th uncle's plan, there are still some gaps. I don't understand the situation in Linhai State, so I didn't think there. My plan is to go east. East? East is the heavenly/mountain range. Demonic beasts run amok. Not only that, the heavenly/mountain range is an ownerless land. The three major sects don't dare to set foot in it. There are desperados who seek refuge everywhere. How will the clansmen settle down? The elders all talked at once, firmly opposing Wang Daoyuan's plan. Wang Jian coughed and said, Quiet down. Dao Yuan won't speak without thinking. Let him say the reason. Many thanks, Patriarch. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and thanked Wang Jian. I once heard a saying, a cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. We can only spare it from death. Right now, there is only the Netherworld sect. Once the 3 major sects have an all-out conflict and the Netherworld sect is defeated, our Wang family will also be buried with them. Even if the 12th uncle's Linhai prefecture plan succeeded, there would only be 2 holes. In the future, if the underworld sect falls and all our clansmen flee to Linhai province, if the cruel Sun Palace is determined to destroy our Wang clan, the 13 families of Linhai province are not related to us. At most, they will not help either side and will not protect us. Thus, the 2 caves were not a foolproof plan. I suggest heading east and entering the periphery of the heavens/mountain range. This is to ensure that our clansmen can enter the heavens/mountain range while the other 2 caves are unstable. Our clan already has some businesses in the upper reaches of the clear stream. My suggestion is to use these businesses as a foundation and continue to invest more, gradually moving the clan's mortals over. Then, He searched for veins and spirit mountains in the surroundings and gradually advanced towards the heaven/mountain range. In this way, even if they couldn't move the family there, they could increase the family's income. If they could find valuable mineral veins, it would be of great benefit to the family's business. It would also be helpful to the 12th uncle's plan. However, in the beginning, they might be attacked by demonic beasts and rogue cultivators. We don't have to worry about other forces obstructing us. After all, there are too many monks and too little porridge in the Huiyan mountain range. Many clans want to find other ways to make money. There are also many people who have designs on the heavens/mountain range. However, they don't know the depth and don't dare to be the first to make a move. Our Wang clan will be the first to test the depth, and the other forces will be happy to see it. The first to make a move is the riskiest, but the benefits are also the greatest. After hearing Wang Daoyuan's words, everyone fell silent. Originally, everyone was thinking for the future of the clan. However, there were sufficient reasons for different opinions, so it was understandable. The first elder looked at Wang Daoyuan and asked, "Can we develop to the north?" Wang Jian sighed and thought to himself, the first elder is really old. He didn't dare to take any risks. Hiding his strength and biding his time was to not show off and accumulate strength, not to be a coward. Without waiting for Wang Daoyuan to speak, he said to the first elder, "Developing to the north and mining the many mines in the Huiyan mountain range can strengthen the clan, and the risks are very small. However, high risks have high returns. More than 90% of the mines in the south of the Huiyan mountain range are owned. We are in the Huiyan mountain range, which is far away from the main mountain range. The spiritual energy here is thin, and the high-value spiritual mines are extremely rare. Even if the clan develops with all its strength, there won't be much profit, and there will be conflicts of interest with other clans. The gains don't make up for the losses. The east of the clan is the periphery of the heavens/mountain range, which is only a few thousand kilometers away from the main mountain range. In addition, the spiritual energy in the heavens/mountain range is far better than in the Huiyan mountain range. The periphery is also rich in spiritual energy, and the potential is much greater than in the north. Wang Daoyuan sighed inwardly. The great elder was just like the old saying, the older you are in the martial world, the more cowardly you become. You don't want to take any risks at all, and you're still thinking about getting benefits. Of course, he couldn't say these words out loud. At this time, an elder said, "How's the contact with the Thousand Spirit sect?" This elder's name was Wang Shouyuan, and he was ranked 4th in the Shou generation. Wang Daoyuan and Wang Shui both looked at him with strange expressions, which made him feel embarrassed. Wang Shouyuan asked awkwardly, "Is there something wrong?" Wang Shui looked at him with a faint smile and replied, "Fourth brother, although this plan can be used, it's courting death if we use it now. If the Netherworld sect is destroyed by the two sects and can't take care of itself, we can contact the Thousand Spirit sect and express our intention to surrender. It's a good way out. But now, the Netherworld sect is only damaged, and there are still 6 Golden Core cultivators, dozens of Violet Palace Realm cultivators, and hundreds of Foundation Establishment cultivators in the sect. The Thousand Spirit sect and the Cruel Sun Palace are also beating the Netherworld sect, and they don't plan to destroy it. This time, the two sects are jointly suppressing the Netherworld sect, and many of the subordinate forces have this idea. The Netherworld sect took out the Foundation Establishment pill to appease people. However, appeasing people requires both kindness and power. The kindness has been shown, and they are just waiting for some blind people to jump out and make an example of them. Fourth brother, your plan directly bumps into the Netherworld sect's blade. Wang Shouyuan smiled awkwardly, so there are so many twists and turns, I didn't think so much. Wang Jian mediated, Shouyuan, don't be discouraged. You're not good at scheming, so it's normal that you can't compare to Shuyan Daoyuan. If it's planting spirit herbs and taking care of spirit fields, the two of them added together can't compare to you. Wang Shouyuan was a level 2 spirit plant farmer, and was in charge of the family's level 2 spirit herbs. When the family head mentioned his specialty, he felt a bit better. Wang Daoxing, who had been silent, also advised, Fourth uncle, we're all honest people, don't compare with them. They have as many tricks as a beehive, and I'm too lazy to think so much. Let them play tricks, I'll be obedient and smash whoever they want me to smash. Everyone lamented the misfortune of the family. They finally had a genius who could cultivate the lustrous golden body art, but he was such a fool. You still have the nerve to say you're honest, is that honest? You're lacking in thought. Wang Jian saw that no one was firmly opposing Wang Daoyuan's plan, and finally decided, I think Daoyuan's plan is feasible. Now, we'll set the general direction and how to implement it. We'll gradually adjust according to the actual situation. Right now, we need to find a capable person to find a suitable mine. I think Daoyuan is not bad, he has enough schemes, and he won't lose out. Before Daoyuan entered the family, he was also from that area, and it will be convenient for him to act there. Chapter 54. The elders had no objections. Wang Daoyuan was only going to investigate. He did not need to spend any money, and there would not be a large number of casualties. They would just treat it as him going out to train. Wang Daoyuan naturally would not object. This trip to the heaven/mountain range was a good opportunity to find more level 2 spirit herbs and enrich the variety of spirit herbs in the spirit pearl space. After breaking through to the late stage of qi refinement, the spirit pearl space could already grow level 2 spirit herbs. It was just that he had not found a way to get them. At the heaven/mountain range, with the soul-chasing bees, finding spirit herbs would be a piece of cake. This mission was not a specific mission. It was a bit like the imperial envoys in ancient times in his previous life. There was no specific work, just an investigation. They said that they were very busy and had to go to many places to investigate many dangerous places. They said that they were very free. They could wander around for a few years and casually find a small mine that was not bad. Moreover, there was no time limit. He could also go home to take a look. Ever since he left home at the age of 5, he had never returned. Although he had memories of his previous life, he was also reincarnated into this world. His parents in this world were also his biological parents. He had not returned home for many years and missed them very much. After the meeting, Wang Daoyuan did not immediately set off to carry out the mission. Instead, he went to the hidden scriptures block. After a life and death battle and the death of his 7 granduncles, he was greatly moved. He discovered many of his own shortcomings and began to reflect on his cultivation path. What he was best at was using resources to achieve the best results at the lowest cost. This was also his biggest shortcoming. He relied too much on resources and calculations, and did not put his mind on improving his own strength. Although he had the spirit pearl space and was good at refining spirit talismans, using spirit talismans could make up for his lack of combat strength. However, a large number of spirit talismans were piled up with a large amount of resources and time. If he kept using spirit talismans, even if he had enough resources, he would not have enough time. Most of his energy was spent on refining spirit talismans. How would he have time to cultivate? Spirit talismans were ultimately external objects. Just like that night when he caught the Qing River carp, if the assassin had not wanted to force the Qing River carp's whereabouts out of him, he would have died no matter how many spirit talismans he had. Moreover, spirit talismans themselves had their limitations. There was still a difference in power between talismans and spells used by cultivators. The power of the spells used by cultivators could continuously increase. The difference in power between a newly grasped spell and one that was practiced to the point of perfection was not small. The spell released by the talisman was equivalent to the level of a newly grasped spell, or even worse. Compared to using spells, talismans had the disadvantage of being difficult to control. For example, the golden sword art. When a cultivator used the golden sword art, they could control it to chase and kill their opponents. If he used the golden sword talisman to release a golden sword, he would only be able to slightly change the direction of the attack with his spiritual sense. If he couldn't hit the enemy with the first attack, it would be very difficult for him to use it again. Secondly, some of the spells used by cultivators could be maintained by injecting spiritual power, such as the water dragon spell, the earth armor spell, and so on. However, when using talismans to release spells, the spell's consumption depended entirely on the spiritual power in the talisman. Once it was exhausted, it would be gone. With his extremely poor combat ability, if he were to fight head-on with an opponent of the same level who had experienced hundreds of battles, even if he were to throw out spirit talismans, he would probably have to use dozens or even hundreds of spirit talismans to kill his opponent. If he were to encounter an opponent who was proficient in escape techniques, even if he used hundreds of spirit talismans, he might not be able to take him down. He might even be easily killed. Playing tricks wouldn't work all the time. To put it bluntly, all schemes and tricks were waiting for the opponent to make a mistake. He had killed a strong opponent twice by taking advantage of the opponent's underestimation. If the opponent remained vigilant, it would be very difficult for the spirit talismans to hit the enemy. If the opponent didn't make a mistake, there would be no room for schemes and tricks. A scheme that didn't require the opponent to make a mistake was called an open scheme. An open scheme was unsolvable, but there were too many conditions that needed to be met. However, in the cultivation world, one's own strength was the biggest open scheme. Take Zhang de Shang for example. Not to mention how strong he was, as long as he was proficient in escape techniques and had a good brain, he would be able to constantly find opportunities to sneak attack him. He would probably have to stick the golden armor talisman and the earth armor talisman on his body at all times to save his life. In this way, no matter how many spirit talismans he had, it wouldn't be enough. Sooner or later, he would be played to death. Previously, he had relied too much on external objects and neglected his own strength. This was the problem with the cultivation path before he discovered the space in the spiritual pearl. At that time, resources were scarce, so he could only use most of his energy to earn resources and improve his cultivation. He didn't care much about his actual combat strength. Later, with the space in the spiritual pearl, he had sufficient resources and was eager to improve his cultivation. When facing enemies, he was used to smashing his opponents to death with resources, so he didn't pay attention to improving his own strength. If he didn't have spirit talismans, any of his 7 granduncles could have easily taken him down. However, they still didn't come back alive. On the other hand, his second brother, Wang Daoxing, didn't use spirit talismans at all. He carried a mace and smashed it all the way back. His own strength was the way to go. When facing enemies, he also used his wits more than his strength. The fundamental reason was that he was afraid of death. He knew that his combat strength wasn't strong and that fighting with the enemy would very likely cost him his life. Using spirit talismans in a battle of wits was both safe and effective. All this time, he had been running away from the threat of death. Perhaps it was because he had just experienced his master's death in his previous life, and then he was struck to death by lightning. After experiencing the death of his loved ones and personally experiencing life and death with his memories, perhaps he only knew how to cherish things after losing them. After dying once, he cherished his life even more and had a deep fear of death. He was anxious to start cultivating when he was 5 because he wanted to improve his cultivation as soon as possible. The higher his realm, the longer he could live. After discovering the space in the spiritual pearl, this fear didn't decrease. Instead, it became stronger. With sufficient resources to cultivate, wouldn't it be a loss if he died? His path of cultivation had gone astray, and to a large extent, it was driven by this sense of fear. If it weren't for his 7 granduncles dying in battle and sounding the alarm for him, who knew how far he would have walked on the wrong path? Perhaps he would only wake up when he was killed by relying too much on external forces. Fortunately, he had reflected on his actions in time. If he hadn't come to his senses and recklessly entered the heaven/mountain range, he would have been surrounded and attacked by a group of envious loose cultivators. No matter how many talismans he had, he would still die. It was never too late to mend the pen after the sheep were lost. He was only 20 years old now, and his cultivation had already reached the 7th level of qi refinement. Among his peers, he could already be considered top-notch. His cultivation realm didn't have much pressure in this aspect. When one was young, they had enough time to try and make mistakes. It wasn't scary to walk the wrong path. There was still a chance to return to the right path. As for death, the more afraid of death, the easier it was to die. Cultivation was to risk one's life. If one succeeded, they would become a sect master and even live forever. If one failed, they would just lose their lives. If one couldn't live forever, wouldn't they die sooner or later? Since they had embarked on the path of no return, they should press forward. After thinking through all this, Wang Daoyuan's heart was suddenly enlightened. His state of mind improved greatly. He walked to the ancient pine beside the hidden scriptures tower and bowed to Wang Jiza. Greetings, great-grandfather. Wang Jiza was a foundation establishment cultivator. How could he not see the change in him? He smiled. Little guy, you're really lucky. You can see through the confusion in your heart at such a young age. I've long seen that you're afraid of death. It's also strange that such a young child would think so much. If you're so afraid of death, you'll form an inner demon sooner or later. It'll greatly affect your future foundation establishment. Originally, I wanted to enlighten you, but the improvement of your state of mind from being enlightened by others and seeing through it by yourself are completely different. I thought that if you still couldn't see through it by the age of 40, then I would enlighten you. I didn't expect that you would be able to see through it at the age of 20. With this experience of seeing through the obstacles in your heart, even if you open up the Purple Palace in the future, the inner demon tribulation won't cause you much trouble. Now that you've seen through your confusion, you should have realized that you've walked the wrong path. You want to learn a few spells to increase your strength, right? Wang Daoyuan was a bit shocked. As expected of a wise old man, he could even see through this. After a long while, he finally reacted. Great-grandfather's eyes are indeed as bright as torches. I've indeed realized that I've walked the wrong path. I've relied too much on talismans and want to learn a few spells. Chapter 55. Wang Jiza smiled benevolently. It's a good thing that you know you're on the right path. You're cultivating the basic water attribute technique, water technique. There aren't many level 1 water attribute techniques that are practical. You're already at the late stage of Qi disciple, so it's not worth it to change your technique. If you can reach foundation establishment in the future, then change to a multi-attribute technique. If you want to cultivate a technique, it's better to cultivate our Wang family's water dragon technique. This technique has been modified by our ancestors so it can be used for both offense and defense. Although it's not very destructive, it's not afraid of any technique of the same level. If it's used in water, its power can be compared to a weaker level 2 low-grade technique. Qingli County's water net is crisscrossed. If you can't win, then run into the water. As for escape techniques, cultivate cloud escape. This escape technique was created by our ancestors by combining many escape techniques and is a water attribute escape technique. Compared to other water attribute escape techniques, its biggest advantage is that it can be used outside the water and its concealment is not bad. With these two techniques, as long as you don't meet any foundation establishment cultivators, you'll have no problem protecting yourself. Wang Daoyuan respectfully said, "Thank you for your guidance." He went straight to the second floor of the hidden scriptures tower and easily found the 2 jade slips. After he entered the family, in order to quickly understand this world, he often came to the hidden scriptures tower to read the family's books. Other than the 3rd floor where the techniques were stored, he knew where the techniques on the 1st and 2nd floors were stored. After he obtained the water dragon technique in cloud escape, he used his divine sense to examine them and memorized the 2 techniques. He then returned the jade slips to Wang Jiza and left. These secret techniques of the family were definitely not allowed to be passed on to outsiders. Thus, if one wanted to cultivate, they could only memorize the techniques and then study them on their own. They were not allowed to take the jade slips away. After leaving the hidden scriptures tower, Wang Daoyuan went to pay his respects to his 7 granduncles. After all, it was because of his 7 granduncles' deaths that he came to his senses. He went to pay his respects to express his gratitude. After that, he went to visit 7th uncle Wang Shouhong and took his 8th grade pills. He also told Wang Shouhong that he wanted to learn alchemy. Of course, Wang Shouhong didn't agree. However, He couldn't resist his coaxing and finally gave him an introductory book on alchemy and some common level 1 pill recipes. Wang Daoyuan left satisfied. Before he left, he gave seventh uncle a few dozen sets of spirit-gathering pill ingredients as thanks. Anyway, he had a lot of these things. There were hundreds of them stored in the space. Moreover, with the spirit pearl space, he didn't have to worry about lacking these common spirit herbs. After leaving seventh uncle's place, he passed by the Jade Dragon Spring and took a look at how the 2 Qing River carps were doing. For years had passed, and the Qing River carps had reproduced another nest. 2 big fishes were swimming in the spring water with more than 10 small fry. The 2 big fish also seemed to have advanced to become first-stage middle-grade spiritual fish. The Jade Dragon Spring was filled with spirit energy, so it wasn't strange that they could advance. Wang Jiza was the one who fed them. Although Wang Jiza had never seen the Qing River carps with his own eyes when he was young, he had often come into contact with the elders who had raised the Qing River carps before. He had also learned some techniques to raise the Qing River carps. With him personally feeding the Qing River carps, there naturally wouldn't be a problem. After Wang Daoyuan informed the great elder that he was leaving the mountain, he took the family's spirit ship to Clear Glass Market at Sleeping Bow Crossing. Sleeping Bow Pond was the Wang family's transportation hub. Several streams that originated from the remnant veins of Mount Huiyan converged into Sleeping Bow Pond. The Wang family used these streams to transport the ores, stones, and spiritual wood produced from several mines and tree farms in Mount Huiyan's remnant veins back to Jade Spring Peak. After selection, the materials that Jade Spring Peak did not need were transported to Clear Glass Market for sale. The spirit ship that Wang Daoyuan took was filled with red copper Oregon. The ship's speed was relatively slow, and because it was a heavy ship, it wasn't cost-effective to use spirit stones or spirit energy to drive it. He wasn't in a hurry, so he simply followed the ship slowly and practiced the water dragon technique and cloud escape. Wang Daoyuan was very satisfied with his talent in magic cultivation. After practicing for 3 days, he successfully condensed a water dragon. However, it couldn't compare to Wang Shui's 5-zhang long water dragon. The water dragon that he condensed was only 2 feet long, and he was very unfamiliar with controlling it. It was far from Wang Shui's ability to control it as if it was his own arm, and the difference in power was like heaven and earth. With this little length, it was impossible to entangle the opponent. He could only control it and fight with the enemy. Cloud escape's difficulty was a bit lower. It was an improved version of the water escape technique. It didn't need to be in the water. As long as there was water attribute spirit energy, it could be used. Wang Daoyuan only needed a day's time to successfully cast it. When using it, he controlled the surrounding water spirit energy to condense a cloud of about 3 zhang in diameter. He could quickly move within the cloud of mist. Of course, it wouldn't work outside the range of the cloud of mist. If he used it in the water, the entire body of water could be considered a condensed cloud of mist. He could maintain a fast-moving state in the water, and his speed was even faster than in the cloud of mist. If he wanted to escape outside the water, he would need to continuously condense the cloud of mist, which was time-consuming and laborious. Cloud escape was more suitable for sneak attacks when fighting on land. Its use for escaping was just a side effect. Cloud escape was used outside the water. Among the 5 elements escape techniques, its speed was slightly inferior to the fire escape technique, but its concealment was far better. If it was used in the water, its speed was faster than the fire escape technique. This escape technique should be a simplified version of a high-level escape technique. It couldn't be compared to an ordinary level 1 escape technique. Wang Daoyuan traveled on the ship for more than half a month and finally arrived at Clear Glass City. After more than a month, the business of the grocery store and restaurant became even worse. However, the business of the Pill Seal Pavilion was exceptionally hot. Of course, this was also reasonable. In the war, both the loose cultivators and the disciples of the clans suffered heavy losses. Whether there would be another war in the future, most people weren't sure. At this time, it was obviously more important to rush to buy medicinal pills and spirit talismans to protect one's life. Spirit stones were used to buy medicinal pills and spirit talismans. Who would have the leisure to eat in the restaurant? As for the business of the grocery store, it was because the Netherworld sect wanted to auction the foundation building pill. Every clan's eyes were red. They were all eyeing the foundation building pill. They sold everything in exchange for spirit stones. Who would still take out money to buy things like ores and spirit wood? Wang Daoyuan walked into the Pill Seal Pavilion and handed over 200 different kinds of spirit talismans and 500 soul-gathering pills in exchange for some spirit stones. These spirit pills and spirit talismans made 10th granduncle Wang Zhihe extremely happy. The business was booming. The stock in the store was almost sold out. If he couldn't supply the goods, his reputation would be ruined. Wang Zhihe looked at the spirit stones flowing in like water and was overjoyed. Looking at the decreasing stock of spirit talismans, he was so worried that his hair turned white. Wang Daoyuan's 200 spirit talismans and 500 medicinal pills really solved the urgent situation. Wang Zhihe gave him an average purchase price of 6 spirit stones per talisman. It was 2 spirit stones higher than the usual purchase price. The soul-gathering pills were directly purchased at 2 spirit stones per talisman. It was the same as the original price. It could be seen how fast the price of spirit talismans and medicinal pills had risen. Wang Daoyuan originally planned to take advantage of the opportunity when every clan was selling everything in exchange for spirit stones. However, he was directly caught by 10th granduncle. If he didn't hand over 20 kinds of first-level high-grade spirit talismans a day, he wouldn't be able to leave. In this way, the craze for spirit talismans and spirit pills subsided after 10 days. In these 10 days, the turnover of the Dan Charm Pavilion was more than all the previous years. Wang Zhihe was so happy that he couldn't help but smile. He was worried that he wouldn't have enough spirit stones to get the foundation establishment pills in the auction a year later. After this wave of craze, he realized that his stock of spirit stones had become living money. When the foundation establishment pills were about to be auctioned, living money was extremely important. There were more than 20,000 spirit stones in the store. However, after this wave of craze, there wouldn't be much business in the Dan Charm Pavilion for a year. Wang Daoyuan had more than 6,000 spirit stones in his hands. Of course, this was mainly due to the space in the spirit pearl. The cost of his spirit pills and spirit talismans was extremely low. It could be regarded as a business without any capital. If an ordinary person sold these spirit pills and spirit talismans, they wouldn't earn much after deducting the price of the raw materials. In these 10 days, apart from increasing his cultivation, he spent most of his time refining spirit talismans. In addition to completing tasks, he also replenished his spirit talismans. The rest of his time was also used to cultivate the water dragon technique and the smoke escape. After all, these were his special skills in the future. He couldn't slack off. Therefore, after coming to the clear glass market for more than 10 days, he still hadn't strolled around the market. However, his efforts weren't in vain. The water dragon technique he used was already more than 3 feet long. The smoke escape could also condense a cloud of 50 to 60 feet in diameter. The rest was just a matter of time. Chapter 56. After the rush to buy pills and talismans passed, Wang Daoyuan finally had time to stroll around the market. At this time, the trend of selling goods had just begun. In order to be able to bid for foundation establishment pills, each family took out things that they were usually reluctant to sell. Loose cultivators and family disciples also began to set up street stalls in the market. Especially those families that had lost foundation establishment cultivators, they couldn't wait to dig out their family's spirit veins and sell them. Of course, the scene was a bit exaggerated, but it was far from the time to take out the things at the bottom of the chest. After all, the Netherworld sect had said that 10 foundation establishment pills would be auctioned in a year. Now, less than a month had passed, and each force had only taken out some unimportant things. It was far from the point of selling everything. Even so, the things being sold in the market now were not comparable to those in normal times. For example, first-rank spirit medicine and first-rank spirit medicine seeds, which were absolutely impossible to see in normal times, could be seen everywhere now. Wang Daoyuan walked out of the Pill Seal Pavilion and walked along the main road in front of the door. After walking a few steps, he was stunned by the scene in front of him. All kinds of first-rank spirit medicine, magic tools, talismans, and so on were placed on the street stalls. If it weren't for these people's different clothes, he would have suspected that he had transmigrated back to the market of his previous life. Where was the ostentation of cultivators? Wang Daoyuan came back to his senses after a long time. His spiritual sense searched for the spiritual things he needed in the stalls. Soon, he found 2 saplings in one of the stalls. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. He had long wanted to plant some spirit fruits and spirit wood in the space. Unfortunately, these things could not be bought at ordinary times. The stall was set up by a male cultivator who looked to be in his early 30s. He wore a dark robe embroidered with a pine tree. He was very familiar with this symbol. It was the symbol of Ash Cloud Peak's Meng family. Ash Cloud Peak was only about 2,000 miles away from Jade Spring Peak. There was an ancient pine tree on the peak. The pine tree covered the sky and covered the entire peak. From a distance, it looked like a dark cloud shrouding the peak, hence the name Ash Cloud Peak. The Meng family was also an old family, but its history was relatively short. It only had a little more than 400 years and had not produced any powerful figures. When the 3 major sects rebelled, the Meng family was weak and didn't participate too much. After the incident, they didn't suffer too much of a blow. After the war, their development was much stronger than the Wang family. There were 2 foundation establishment cultivators in the Meng family who had participated in the war between the 3 sections. The patriarch of the Meng family had died in battle, leaving behind a grand elder who was nearly 200 years old. The lifespan of a foundation establishment cultivator was only 240 years old, but most cultivators couldn't live past the upper limit of their lifespan. This grand elder could only hold on for another 40 years at most, and this was under the condition that he did not engage in a fierce battle with others. Within these 40 years, if no one succeeded in reaching the foundation establishment stage, then the Meng clan would very likely collapse. The best outcome would be to become a vassal of other clans. The Netherworld sect would auction the foundation building pill once every 60 years to win over the subordinate forces. The next auction would be held in 30 years. If the Meng family missed this opportunity, it was hard to say whether the family could survive until the next one. Therefore, it could be said that the Meng family was determined to win this auction. The news of the foundation building pill being auctioned had just spread, and the Meng family had already begun to sell spirit wood saplings. These were all good things that could become a family business. Wang Daoyuan walked to the front of the stall, and the cultivator who set up the stall greeted him warmly. "This is Daoyu, feel free to choose whatever you like." Wang Daoyuan was wearing the standard Daoist robe of the Wang family. After all, his ancestors had once been rich, and the fish dragon pattern had a very resounding reputation in Qingli County. Moreover, the Meng family and the Wang family were neighbors, and the 2 families had a very good relationship. He pointed at the saplings and said, "Greetings to Daoyu, Meng Daoyu. To tell you the truth, I have taken a fancy to these 2 saplings. If I'm not mistaken, these 2 saplings should be Golden Silk Spirit Jujube and Fiery Sun Wood, right?" Golden Silk Spirit Jujube was a first-tier high-grade spirit fruit. It had the effect of strengthening meridians and dantian. Among first-tier spirit fruits, it could be ranked in the top, and was very rare on the market. The value of Fiery Sun Wood was relatively lower. This wood was not useful, and the tree trunk was hard and brittle. Its strength was not much stronger than ordinary trees, and it could not be used to refine spirit weapons, nor could it be used as a building material. Its only value was to burn charcoal. The Fiery Sun Wood's firepower was mild and stable, and was very suitable for alchemy and weapon refinement novices. Its weakness was also very obvious: the firepower was not strong enough. It was barely enough to refine first-tier high-grade magic weapons, but it was enough to refine first-tier spirit pills. The biggest advantage of Fiery Sun Wood was that it grew very quickly. Once the seed was planted, under the condition that there was sufficient spirit qi, it would be able to bloom and bear seeds that year, and in 5 years, it could be used to burn charcoal. To Wang Daoyuan, a novice who was just about to learn alchemy, the fiery sun wood was very suitable. Furthermore, the fiery sun wood grew very quickly, and with the help of the spirit pearl space, it could be mass-produced. Hearing that Wang Daoyuan was interested in buying the 2 saplings, the Meng family cultivator's face lit up and said, "Dao Yu has good eyesight. These 2 spirit trees are indeed golden silk spirit jujube and fiery sun wood. Since Dao Yu recognizes them, I won't introduce them any further. The golden silk spirit jujube sapling is 100 spirit stones, and the fiery sun wood sapling is 30 spirit stones. What do you think, Dao Yu?" Wang Daoyuan chuckled and said, "Dao Yu, you're not doing this kind of business. Let's not talk about the fiery sun wood, it's not rare on the market, and it costs 30 spirit stones. You're a bit greedy. As for the golden silk spirit jujube, it can be considered a rare item. Logically speaking, 100 spirit stones is a bargain for me. But this sapling's leaves are yellow, the plant is short, and its head is drooping. It's obviously a product that has been eliminated. Even if I get my hands on it, I might not be able to grow it. I'm afraid the price." Sigh, the Meng family cultivator heaved a long sigh. Dao Yu has good eyesight. However, this golden silk spirit jujube really isn't a sapling that has been eliminated. I got it by chance when I was traveling outside. It's just that the sapling has just been transplanted and hasn't been re-rooted. If it weren't for the family's current situation, I wouldn't be willing to dig it out and sell it. It's only after its roots have been moved twice in a row that it looks sickly. However, I guarantee with my integrity that there's no problem with this sapling itself. It'll definitely be able to grow." Wang Daoyuan also sighed, and said, "Dao Yu, you don't have to be like this. In this war, my Wang family also suffered disastrous losses. I also feel the same about what happened to the Meng family. Our 2 families can be considered old friends. Forget it, let's just follow Dao Yu's price." The Meng family cultivator bowed and cupped his fists, saying, "Many thanks to Dao Yu." Wang Daoyuan handed over the spirit stones and put the 2 saplings into his storage pouch. He then left the stall and began to search for other valuable spiritual objects. The cultivator surnamed Meng put the spirit stones into his storage pouch and sighed ruefully, "This Dao Yu is still an honest and considerate person." Wang Daoyuan didn't do this to help the enemy, but to increase the number of competitors for his family's foundation building pill. The Wang family originally had more than 20,000 spirit stones, and they had more than 20,000 spirit stones in the clear glass market. Adding one more, they had more than 40,000 spirit stones. Wang Daoyuan planned to take out more than half of his spirit stones and exchange them for family contribution points. Even if there were many families competing for the foundation building pill this time and there might be a serious premium, it was impossible for each foundation building pill to exceed 100,000 spirit stones. It wasn't that there hadn't been fierce competition for foundation building pills in the past, and there had been a few times when the situation was more severe than this time. However, the highest record in history was only 100,000 spirit stones for one pill. Although there was a discount for foundation building pills in this auction, after all, no one had prepared in advance. They didn't have many spirit stones saved, and the price wouldn't be too outrageous. The Wang family still had a good chance of getting one foundation building pill. As for getting 2 foundation building pills, that would be courting death. Without a Zifu disciple overseeing the family, who would dare to do something that would make everyone jealous? Moreover, there wasn't a half-price discount for the second foundation building pill. The Wang family didn't have the ability to take out 100,000 spirit stones after getting one foundation building pill. Since they had a good chance of getting one foundation building pill and couldn't get 2, it was better to help a friendly force get one than to let an enemy force get it. Chapter 57. The Liang clan's sphere of influence was roughly surrounded by the Wang, Yang, and Meng clans. The Wang clan was in the east and north, the Yang clan was in the south, and the Meng clan was in the west. If the 3 clans didn't fall, the Liang clan could only expand to the southwest corner, and the southwest corner was the clear glass market. No matter how bold the Liang clan was, they wouldn't dare to swallow the clear glass market. Although the Liang clan was domineering, it could be said that they were locked in by the three clans. If the Meng clan fell, the one who would benefit the most would definitely be the neighboring Liang clan. The Wang clan wouldn't be able to gain much. If the Liang clan obtained a large amount of territory, their strength would multiply, and they would also have a channel to expand to the west. The pressure on the Wang clan would be even greater. The Wang clan's consistent strategy was to ally with the nearby old clans to resist the Liang clan together. Maybe when the foundation establishment pill was auctioned in the future, after the Wang clan obtained one, if they had a surplus of spirit stones, they would lend spirit stones to the Meng clan and help the Meng clan obtain one. Strolling along the main street of the market, Wang Daoyuan really opened his eyes. Many clans' geniuses were setting up street stalls. These geniuses were usually too lazy to even learn the 100 arts of cultivation, but they actually did this kind of work. He really didn't know if they were here to earn spirit stones or to experience life. As he walked, he saw a cultivator wearing a green Daoist robe who was setting up a stall. There was a poplar symbol on the robe. A Zifu clan like the Yang clan actually had people setting up street stalls. The guy wearing a white robe at the side of the stall was even more familiar. It was the third brother, Wang Daochang. Did the clan's geniuses collectively come out to gain experience? Wang Daoyuan walked to the front of Wang Daochang's stall. Wang Daochang was chatting with the Yang clan cultivator and didn't notice. Wang Daoyuan picked up a clear spirit grass and asked, "Daoyu, may I ask how much this clear spirit grass is?" Clear spirit grass was the main ingredient for refining clear spirit pills. It had some effects of recovering divine sense. Wang Daoyuan also planted some in his space. Wang Daochang looked up and smiled, "Little seven, how come you're willing to come out? Coming to the clear glass market and staying in the store for more than 10 days, you really can keep your composure. Don't mention it." Wang Daoyuan sat down next to Wang Daochang and said, "10th great uncle is really treating me like an animal. He asked me to hand in 20 talismans a day and forced me to drink spirit wine and eat spirit pills to recover my energy and soul power. I was only released after the craze was over." Hearing this, Wang Daochang and the Yang clan cultivators laughed. Wang Daochang joked, "Isn't this all because of 7th brother's ability? You must have earned a lot of spirit stones recently, right? Why don't we take care of 3rd brother's business?" "I did earn quite a lot of spirit stones, but the talismans I accumulated during my 4 years of confinement and the spirit pills I asked 7th uncle to refine were all robbed by 10th great uncle. I came out to see if there's anything I need. After I'm done, I'll keep some spirit stones as backup and hand over the rest to the clan in exchange for contribution points. Wouldn't it be unnecessary for me to take care of your business?" Wang Daoyuan replied. Then, he took out another 100 talismans and gave them to 3rd brother, saying, "Everyone is selling spirit herbs, ores, and the like. It's not easy for you to sell these. Sell these talismans at a fair price and take the money you earn back to the clan to exchange for contribution points." When Wang Daoyuan took out the talismans, he revealed the jade pendant given by the Yang clan ancestor. The Yang clan cultivator asked, "Daoyu, this jade pendant seems to belong to the Yang clan?" Wang Daoyuan took out the jade pendant and answered, "This indeed belongs to the Yang clan. 4 years ago, I caught a clear river carp and the Yang clan ancestor came to help me deal with it. After learning that my mother was from the Yang clan, he gave this jade pendant to me as a greeting gift." The Yang clan cultivator was interested and asked, "According to the secular world's hierarchy, I'm the 8th generation of the ancestor's descendant. Which generation is Daoyu from?" "That's a coincidence." Wang Daoyuan smiled, "My mother is the 7th generation of the ancestor's descendant. I happen to be the 8th generation, so I should call Daoyu cousin." The Yang clan cultivator was also very happy and said, "That's a coincidence. My name is Yang Yulan, what's cousin's name?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "My name is Wang Daoyuan. Since I've met cousin, I'll take care of cousin's business." The Yang clan ancestor was good at refining, so Yang Yulan's stall only had low-level magic tools. Wang Daoyuan picked 2 spirit beast bags and more than 10 storage bags. When he fights in the future, he might need the help of the soul-chasing bees, so the spirit beast bag on his waist could be explained. As for the storage bag, it was to store mature spirit grains and spirit herbs in the space of the spirit bead. These family geniuses didn't know how to do business. He helped to sell for a while, and soon the 2 stalls sold a few things. After that, Wang Daoyuan continued to look at other stalls to see if there were any good things. There was nothing to see at the family cultivators' stalls. Although everyone was in urgent need of spirit stones, they weren't in such a hurry to sell their treasures now. On the contrary, the rogue cultivators' stalls had a lot of good things. Usually, Clear Glass City didn't allow street stalls, and it wasn't easy for rogue cultivators to sell their things. If they sold to shops, the price would be lowered, and they might even be blackmailed. Truly capable rogue cultivators still had good things on them. Moreover, they didn't dare to sell until the end. At that time, all the major families would be selling their treasures, and rogue cultivators wouldn't be able to compete. Moreover, they weren't sure how long the non-prohibition of street stalls would last, so the things they took out were more precious. Of course, they were only rank 1 spirit items. There were very few rank 2 spirit items, and even if they were to sell them until the end, they could still sell them. There was no need to take them out early. Wang Daoyuan noticed a rogue cultivator's stall. The rogue cultivator looked like a middle-aged man, and his cultivation was also at the 7th level of qi refinement. His face was greasy, and he looked more like a shop usher. His stall was mostly filled with spirit herbs and seeds. Although they were all rank 1, there was a complete variety. There were a few types that the family didn't have, and there were even a few lotus seeds. Wang Daoyuan dug 2 acres of fish pond in the space of the spirit pearl and wanted to plant some water spiritual plants. Firstly, it was to enrich the resources in his hands, and secondly, it was to provide some other food for the fish. Although he had put a lot of algae in the fish pond, they weren't ranked. It wasn't easy to encounter a ranked water spiritual plant, so he naturally couldn't miss it. After all, 2 acres of spiritual fields were only used to raise fish, and his heart really ached. However, looking at this cultivator's shrewdness, it wouldn't be easy to take him down. It didn't matter to the Yang and Meng families to do business. The 3 families were connected, and if the 2 families grew stronger, it would also be beneficial to the Wang family. It was impossible to take advantage of rogue cultivators. Suppressing rogue cultivators was the same goal of sects and families. If rogue cultivators succeeded in building their foundation, there was a high chance that they would establish a family. Then, they would have to snatch spirit mountains, mineral veins, and shops. A newly established family would be a competitor to all the old families. There were only so many resources, and the more forces there were, the less each force would get. No force wanted a new force to rise. Wang Daoyuan walked forward. The stall owner saw that he was young and a family cultivator. Generally speaking, cultivators of this age were inexperienced and knew nothing about the scams of the Jianghu. The stall owner thought that a fat sheep had come, and he was instantly full of smiles, his eyes shining. Chapter 58. The stall owner did not wait for Wang Daoyuan to speak and rushed to introduce first. This Dao Yu looks like a descendant of an aristocratic family. Although my cultivation is low, I still have some good stuff. He picked up a few seeds and said, "These are all tier 2 spirit herb seeds. In the entire market square, you won't be able to find a second shop selling tier 2 spirit herb seeds. Dao Yu, if you pass this village, you won't have this shop anymore." Hearing him brag like this, Wang Daoyuan turned his head and left. This was also a common method of buying things, loosening the reins only to grasp them better. One of the 36 stratagems in his previous life, a common stratagem in the market. Sure enough, once he left, the stall owner panicked and hurriedly pulled him, saying, "Dao Yu, don't go. Although tier 2 spirit herb seeds are very precious, the price can be discussed." Wang Daoyuan sneered and said, "I'll give you one last chance. What tier 2 spirit herb seeds are these? The stall owner smiled awkwardly. I misjudged. I didn't expect Dao Yu to know the business. Forget it, I won't hide it from Dao Yu. These are all tier 1 spirit herb seeds. However, I really do have some good stuff. He picked up those lotus seeds and said, this is what I picked in the lotus pond when I explored the ancient cultivator's abode. I also know a little about spirit herbs. This thing might be the inky jade serene lotus. Dao Yu also knows the business. What this inky jade serene lotus is, I don't think I need to say more, right? Fixed price, 100 spirit stones for one. What do you think, Dao Yu? Wang Daoyuan carefully observed the lotus seeds and said with a smile, Dao Yu isn't honest. I've naturally heard of the inky jade serene lotus. Planted in a place with dense yin qi, it can bloom in 10 years. When it blossoms, it's a tier 2 middle grade spirit herb. If carefully cultivated, it can grow into a tier 2 high grade spirit herb. The lotus roots and lotus seeds can even heal soul injuries. However, the lotus seed must have a pure yin qi. I don't feel any pure yin qi from this lotus seed. The stall owner quibbled, the appearance of this lotus seed is exactly the same as the inky jade lotus. As for the lack of pure yin qi, it's probably because it stayed in the ancient cultivator's cave for too long. In order to preserve its vitality, the yin qi was restrained. Dao Yu can use your spiritual sense to examine it. This lotus seed is still alive. Wang Daoyuan didn't believe his nonsense. As far as I know, the black water lotus's lotus seed and the black jade lotus's appearance are exactly the same. The only difference is this pure yin qi. Dao Yu's lotus seed is more likely to be the black water lotus. Even if it was the inky jade serene lotus seed, without the pure yin qi, the possibility of it germinating was next to nothing. Furthermore, the inky jade serene lotus is only suitable to grow in places with dense yin qi. Where am I going to find this kind of place? I won't talk nonsense. 10 spirit stones for one lotus seed. This price is especially expensive to buy the black water lotus seed. Just take it as a gamble. If it's the inky jade serene lotus and it can germinate, then I'll make a profit. If it's only the black water lotus, or it can't germinate, I can afford to lose dozens of spirit stones. However, Dao Yu have to spare me a few rank 1 elixir seeds. If Dao Yu is willing, then let's do it. If not, then I'll leave. Dao Yu also don't pester me. The stall owner pondered for a long time and said, I'll treat it as making friends with Dao Yu and sell him. However, Dao Yu can't be too ruthless when you choose to spare me. My small business can't afford to be tossed around. Wang Daoyuan picked 4 rank 1 elixir seeds that were not in the space of the spiritual pearl. He took 2 or 3 of each and gave 50 spirit stones to the stall owner. He took 5 lotus seeds and left. The reason why he bought these 5 lotus seeds was that these 5 lotus seeds were really old. Therefore, these 5 lotus seeds could really be the inky jade serene lotus. After a long time, the yin qi would be restrained. Even if it wasn't, it didn't matter. 50 spirit stones for Wang Daoyuan was just a drop in the ocean. Moreover, even if it was the black water lotus, he had achieved his goal. He originally wanted to buy a kind of water spirit plant. With the space of the spiritual pearl, he could quickly make up for the loss. Wang Daoyuan continued to go deeper into the old square. The old square had been established for a long time and had a large territory. Moreover, all the forces had shops, so it was much more lively than the left and right squares. After all the shops in the left and right squares belonged to the Netherworld sect. The people who did the business and the management were all from the Netherworld sect. It was hard to guarantee that there wouldn't be a situation where the shops bullied the customers. For example, at this time, there were many stalls on both sides of the old square. However, the left and right squares were deserted. The Netherworld sect had also thought of selling some of the shops in the left and right squares. However, except for the families of some elders of the Netherworld sect who bought them, the other forces didn't buy them. It was a waste of spirit stones to open a shop in a deserted place. Wang Daoyuan strolled around the street. He had already bought all the spiritual items he urgently needed. Shopping was purely for fun. The stalls on both sides of the street only sold a few types of spiritual items. There was really not much to see. Just as he was about to go back, he saw a group of people in front of him surrounding a stall. Driven by his nature of being a spectator, Wang Daoyuan squeezed through. He saw that the stall owner was an old cultivator. He had a weather-beaten face and gave people a very honest and reliable feeling. Of course, it was extremely rare to judge people by their appearance in the cultivation world. This was because most of these people were already dead. Those who were not dead were too strong and had not been killed for the time being. The things on the stall were quite novel. Other stalls had spiritual herbs, spiritual materials, low-level magic artifacts, spirit pills, and so on. However, this stall actually only had broken magic artifacts. Common magic artifacts such as long swords, long sabers, armor, and spiritual boots, as well as magic artifacts with special functions such as pearls, jade pendants, and bracelets, were all in good condition. Some of the magic artifacts exuded an ancient aura. They should be left behind from ancient times. Most of the magic artifacts were not very old. According to the stall owner, all the broken magic artifacts still had some power and were not completely scrapped. However, Wang Daoyuan was not interested in these things. The people who were interested were either rogue cultivators who did not have many spirit stones or refiners who bought some broken magic artifacts to study their refining methods. However, there were many onlookers, but very few people were making a move. Just as Wang Daoyuan was about to leave, he caught a glimpse of a half-foot-long and 1-inch tall boat from the corner of his eye. The whole boat was dark and seemed to be made of some kind of wood. The mast, the rudder, and even the tables and chairs in the cabin were all available. The only flaw was that there were a few holes in the side of the boat. 2 incomplete words could be faintly seen on it, Zhu Lang. Wang Daoyuan picked up the boat and asked the stall owner, "May I ask what this is, Daoyu?" The stall owner was naturally very happy to see that someone was interested in his things. He explained, "This is a flying boat. When it is in good condition, it is a second-rank high-grade magic artifact. Injecting spiritual power can turn it into a 5-foot-long and 1-foot-wide flying boat. This boat can fly on the water's surface and is not afraid of hidden reefs and dangerous shoals. Its speed is much faster than ordinary cargo spirit ships. Of course, the consumption of spirit stones is also much higher." Hearing that it was a flying boat and a second-rank high-grade magic artifact, the onlookers were immediately interested. A flying boat had never appeared in Qingli City. Seeing that everyone was interested, the stall owner took the flying boat and walked to the center of the street. He injected spiritual power into the flying boat. The originally toy-like boat instantly turned into a 5-foot-long and 1-foot-wide boat. The stall owner let go of the flying boat. This flying boat could actually float more than 1 foot above the ground. Chapter 59. A busybody in the crowd jumped onto the flying boat, wanting to test the feeling of flying. He walked into the cabin and used his spirit energy to activate the flying boat. The flying boat moved forward slowly, its speed not even as fast as a mortal walking. Another burly man said, "You trash, you can't even activate a Dharma artifact." The burly man jumped onto the flying boat and was about to control it when it fell to the ground because it could not withstand the weight of 2 people. The onlookers burst into laughter. The main purpose of such a large flying boat was to transport large amounts of goods or as a passenger ship. However, the flying boat could not withstand the weight of 2 people on it. Furthermore, a late-stage qi refinement cultivator could only fly at the speed of a turtle. What was the use of this broken thing? Wang Daoyuan also said in a mocking tone, "That's it." Someone in the crowd jeered and shouted, "Disperse, disperse." Many onlookers turned around and left. The stall owner was anxious and said, "Although this flying boat can't be used, only the floating array formation and the propulsion array formation are broken. Everything else is fine. It can still be used after being repaired by a weapon refinement master." A weapon refinement master said disdainfully, "Is there anything else on the flying boat other than these two array formations?" With these two array formations, even a door panel can be used as a flying boat. If the array formations are destroyed, what's the use of the other things? A flying boat is not an ordinary Dharma artifact. It involves the two major systems of weapon refinement and array formations. At least a superior grade Tier 2 weapon refinement master and a superior grade Tier 2 array formation master are needed to repair this flying boat. Furthermore, they have to have experience in refining large Dharma artifacts. If they don't have experience in refining large Dharma artifacts, they will need a Tier 3 array formation master and weapon refinement master. This price is enough to buy a new one. If it's a weapon refinement master or array formation master above Tier 2, it might be meaningful to buy it to study the refinement techniques or array formations and learn how to refine a flying boat. Who else would buy this thing? With that said, everyone dispersed. Wang Daoyuan also planned to leave. He thought that if it was easy to repair, he could buy it back and get someone to repair it so that he could implement the 12th uncle's Linhai state strategy. Unfortunately, the difficulty of repairing it was too high and the price was too high. Wang Daoyuan was the last to leave. The stall owner pulled him back and said, "This Dao Yu should be interested in this wave-chasing flying boat, right? I can sell it to Dao Yu at a cheaper price." Wang Daoyuan's interest was piqued. If he could buy it back at a low price, even if it couldn't be repaired, he could dismantle it and sell it for materials. At the very least, it could be used as a reference to avoid being cheated when buying a flying boat in the future. Thus, he asked, "How much is Dao Yu willing to pay?" When the stall owner saw that he was interested in buying it, he was overjoyed and hurriedly said, "It's only 2,000 spirit stones. This is a second-stage high-grade magic tool made by a famous master, so the price is definitely not high. If it's in perfect condition, you won't even be qualified to look at it if you don't have 10,000 spirit stones." Wang Daoyuan sneered, "Dao Yu, do you think I'm a sucker? This flying boat is already at this stage, so what if it's made by a famous master? My family doesn't have any artifact refiners or array masters. I bought it, but I only dismantled it to sell the materials. 2,000 spirit stones to buy a pile of broken materials, do you think I'm a fool? I'll pay 100 spirit stones, whether you want to sell it or not." The stall owner was a little angry, and said, "Dao Yu's bargaining is too good. Other people cut it at the waist at most, but you cut it at the heel. This is a second-stage high-grade magic tool, and it's so big, it can be sold for thousands of spirit stones. Do you think you can fool me just because I don't know how to forge magic tools?" Wang Daoyuan sneered and said, "For this kind of large-scale magic tool, only the core parts are made of good materials, and the other parts are made of ordinary materials. For large-scale flying boat-type magic tools, only the keel, bow, and the core parts inscribed with array patterns are made of second-stage high-grade spiritual materials. The rest are first-stage spiritual materials, and they're all sold at the price of second-stage spiritual materials." Dao Yu's sincerity is not enough. His trick was seen through, but the stall owner did not feel embarrassed, and said with a smile, "Dao Yu's really smart, but even if it's mainly first-stage spiritual materials, there are still many second-stage spiritual materials. 100 spirit stones is really too low, 500 spirit stones, I can't go any lower." Wang Daoyuan stretched out 2 fingers and said, 200 at most, not a single spirit stone more. The stall owner agreed happily and said, "Okay, we'll do as Dao Yu says." Wang Daoyuan secretly said, "Too careless." The stall owner's face was full of joy, and Wang Daoyuan knew that this person definitely made a lot of money. He estimated that if he insisted on 100 spirit stones, he could get it. It seemed that his bargaining level was still too low. The price was already set, and it was not appropriate to go back on his word, so he would just treat it as spending money to buy a lesson. After paying the spirit stones, he took the broken wave-chasing boat and returned to the Pill Seal Pavilion's cave. After strolling for a long time, there was nothing that was of great use to him, plus he was scammed, so he was not in the mood to continue strolling. Returning to the Pill Seal Pavilion, he found 12th uncle and 9th uncle, showing them the wave-chasing boat and explaining the conditions that the artifact refiner said to repair the flying boat. Different from Wang Daoyuan, who felt that he was scammed, the two of them were very excited. Flying boats were extremely rare, at least in Clear Glass City. There had never been a complete flying boat. Although this thing was basically useless, one could still have some understanding of the flying boat's structure, functions, and so on. What's more, this flying boat was not impossible to repair, it was just a bit more difficult. Wang Shi enlarged the flying boat, jumped on the flying boat, and injected spirit power to drive it for a while. After that, Wang Jida also went up to experience it. Wang Shi said, although this flying boat's functions are close to being completely useless, since it can still float in the air and slowly move forward after injecting spirit power, it shows that a large part of the internal array can still be operated. At least there's no need to completely demolish it. Although our Wang family does not have this ability, the Yang family's ancestor is a Tier 3 artifact refiner, there's still hope to invite him to repair it. In the future, when the family is more affluent, we can also invite a Tier 3 array master, and then it can be repaired. Although the price may be high, a complete flying boat cannot be bought at all. The three major sects have flying warships, but they will not sell them. Flying warships pursue speed, attack, and defense, and do not care about spirit stones consumption, not suitable for passenger and cargo transport. Wang Jida was also very satisfied. Daoyuan has done a great service this time. If this flying boat can be repaired in the future, even if it does not connect to the Linhai State's trade route, our Wang family can have another passenger business. A complete flying boat is much faster than a spirit boat. With a flying boat, our Wang family can expand our business to the several markets jointly managed by the three major sects by the 10,000 Rivers River. That is far more than Clear Glass City, which has been established for thousands of years. Unfortunately, it is too far from here, and our Wang family does not have anything that can be taken out. To do business there and back, the manpower and material resources consumed on the way are more valuable than the goods. Even if this flying boat cannot be repaired, when the family grows stronger in the future, if there are juniors who walk the path of artifact refinement or array formation, this flying boat will be a living teaching material. Although the flying boat is broken, it is still a good thing that can increase the family's foundation. Wang Daoyuan was a little embarrassed. I bought this thing at first, thinking that if it cannot be repaired, then I will dismantle it and sell it for materials. A Tier 2 high-grade artifact can be sold for 1,000 spirit stones after dismantling it. Wang Jida glanced at him and said, "What a prodigal, only looking at the present and not the long-term benefits. Not to mention that this flying boat can be repaired, even if it is completely scrapped, you can't dismantle it. You really have not improved. Forget it, you have done a great service this time, I will not reprimand you. Hand over the flying boat to the family, and the family will not let you suffer a loss, and will give you 1,000 contribution points." Chapter 60. Wang Daoyuan took out 5,000 spirit stones and said, "Ninth uncle, the family wants to bid for the foundation establishment pill, so we need spirit stones. I have plenty of cultivation resources, so I don't have much use for these spirit stones, so I took them out to exchange for contribution points. If I can successfully obtain a foundation establishment pill, then the 12th uncle can successfully enter the foundation establishment realm. Only then will the family have hope of revitalizing." Wang Jida patted Wang Daoyuan's shoulder and said, "Good child, you are the one who needs cultivation resources the most. I didn't expect that you would be able to make such a big contribution to the family." Wang Shui also became serious. "Daoyuan, since you are able to put in so much effort for me, I won't say any useless words. If there is anything in the future, I will cover you." Wang Daoyuan joked, "Uncle, did you forget how you betrayed me 4 years ago?" Wang Shui flew into a rage out of humiliation and wanted to grab Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan wanted to test his mastery of the 2 magic techniques, and the 12th uncle was the best opponent to compare notes with. Seeing Wang Shui grab him, he activated the mist escape and instantly escaped several feet away. This time, Wang Shui and Wang Jida were a little surprised. They naturally knew that Wang Daoyuan didn't know the mist escape before, but in such a short time, he was already so proficient. Wang Shui wanted to test Wang Daoyuan's depth, but a 5-feet-long water dragon flew out and pounced on Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan continuously used the mist escape, dodging the water dragon's attack 5 or 6 times. The entire backyard of the Pill Seal Pavilion was filled with mist that didn't dissipate in time. This actually gave Wang Daoyuan an advantage, allowing him to escape even further. The water dragon pounced again, but Wang Daoyuan once again escaped several feet away. He condensed a ball of blue spirit energy, which turned into a 3-feet-long water dragon and flew towards Wang Shui's water dragon. The difference in strength was too great. Wang Daoyuan naturally wouldn't fight it head-on. Instead, he controlled the smaller water dragons to make strategic detours. He would catch the bigger water dragons off guard or bite them. Unfortunately, Wang Daoyuan's ability to control spirit energy was far inferior to Wang Shui's. He failed to gain the upper hand even after a few sneak attacks. Soon, the small water dragon was entangled by the big water dragon and turned into a ball of water spiritual energy. The water dragon attacked Wang Daoyuan a few more times, but he easily dodged it with the cloud escape. Wang Shui retracted the water dragons and said in shock, "Brat, you didn't know how to use cloud mist escape and water dragon arts when you joined the battle. How are you so proficient in them now?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "It took me 3 days to condense the water dragon and 1 day to learn the smoke escape. It took me more than 20 days to reach my current level." In the end, the water dragon didn't do much in the hands of the 12th uncle. Wang Jida praised, "You are still not satisfied with this? Ever since our Wang family's old ancestor, only Shui has learned faster than you. Shui's water spiritual roots are much stronger than yours. Water spiritual roots are of great help to the cultivation of water attribute techniques. Furthermore, when Shui was cultivating the water dragon arts, he had the clan leader to guide him personally. You didn't have anyone to guide you. With just 2 inches of water spiritual roots, your cultivation speed is comparable to Shui's. If you had a strong water spiritual root like Shui, you wouldn't even need a day to cultivate the water dragon arts. Your talent in cultivating techniques is one of the best in the entire Qingli County." Wang Shui said, "Dao Yuan, if you can build your foundation in the future, you must switch to cultivating techniques with multiple attributes. With your talent in cultivating techniques and the fact that you have 5 spiritual roots, if you can obtain all 5 attribute techniques, then you will be able to learn all the common techniques in the cultivation world. When you fight, you will definitely be invincible in the same realm. The cultivation world's techniques have a total of 9 common attributes. The 5 elements plus ice, wind, lightning, and no attribute. No attribute refers to the balance of the 5 elements spiritual energy. No attribute techniques can be cultivated by any cultivator of any attribute. It's just that the power isn't very strong. However, if a cultivator with all 5 attributes uses it, the power cannot be underestimated. Ice, wind, and lightning are all formed by the fusion of multiple attributes. The ice attribute is mainly water and is supplemented by metal. The wind attribute is mainly wood and is supplemented by water. The lightning attribute is mainly fire and is supplemented by wood. Other than the 9 common attributes, there are also extremely rare attributes like yin and yang. Wang Daoyuan has 5 spiritual roots. If he can obtain all 5 attribute techniques, then he will be able to use all 9 attribute techniques. However, he has never thought about the path he will take after building his foundation. After all, building his foundation is too difficult for him. Furthermore, all 5 attribute techniques are extremely rare. The only one that can be seen on the market is the 5 element arts. It can only be cultivated to the peak of Qi disciple and the cultivation speed is extremely slow. Basically, no one is willing to cultivate it. If he can successfully build his foundation, then he will indeed have to work hard to find a brilliant 5 attribute technique. Wang Daoyuan pondered for a long time and said, "If I'm lucky enough to build my foundation in the future, then I will indeed have to find all 5 attribute techniques. At the very least, I won't be restricted in refining talismans in the future. Speaking of talismans, Wang Jida's interest was piqued. He asked, Daoyuan, what is your success rate in refining high-grade level 1 talismans now? Wang Daoyuan replied without hesitation, I was forced by 10th great-uncle to hand over 20 talismans every day for more than 10 days. My talisman crafting skills have improved and my success rate has already reached 60%. Wang Jida heaved a long sigh and patted Wang Daoyuan's shoulder. The younger generation will surpass us in time. When I was your age, my success rate in refining low-grade level 1 talismans was less than 60%. You are much better than my old bones. With your Qi disciple level 7 cultivation, your success rate in refining high-grade level 1 talismans is 60%. It seems that your control of spiritual energy is not weak. In a few years, you should be able to refine low-grade level 2 talismans. According to the clan's rules, anyone who can reach the 2nd level in any one of the 100 arts of cultivation can become a clan elder. An elder under the age of 30 has really never appeared in our Wang clan. There are more than 20 clan disciples who have learned talisman crafting from me. Only 5 of them were able to enter the sect. Only 2 of them were able to become middle grade level 1 talisman masters. One is you and the other is your 5th uncle Shi. Your 5th uncle's talent is better than mine and he is also my biological son. I have always nurtured him as my successor. With Shi, the clan's talisman crafting skills can be passed down and I can close my eyes in peace. I didn't expect that you would appear in the Dao generation. Among the 100 arts of cultivation, the path of talisman crafting has the highest requirement for spiritual sense. If you can't build your foundation, you can only become a middle grade level 2 talisman master at most after exhausting your entire life's effort. This is the limit of a Qi disciple cultivator. With your talent, it won't be difficult for you to pass down the clan's talisman crafting skills. I hope you can make a breakthrough and become a 3rd level talisman master. There is no hope for me in this life. If I can nurture a 3rd level talisman master for the clan, I can hold my head high when I see my ancestors in the afterlife. I didn't lose face for them. I'm counting on you to fulfill my lifelong wish. After saying this, Wang Jida's eyes became moist. Wang Shi comforted Wang Jida, saying, after I build my foundation, I will definitely use the entire clan's strength to nurture Dao Yuan. If he builds his foundation, becoming a 3rd level talisman master is within reach. A 3rd level talisman master is more valuable than 5 or 6 foundation establishment cultivators. It won't be a loss to nurture him. Seeing them speak so seriously, Wang Daoyuan jested, don't be so serious. When I become a 2nd level talisman master, earning spirit stones will be like playing around. I can use spirit stones to smash myself into a foundation establishment cultivator. Wang Jida and Wang Shui both laughed heartily. They were full of confidence in the clan's future. Wang Daoyuan bowed to the 2 of them, saying, this matter is over. I should also carry out the mission of exploring the periphery of the sky beheading mountain range to find a way out for the clan. I still need to make some preparations. Farewell. Wang Jida said worriedly, child, it doesn't matter whether you gain anything or not. Preserving your life is the most important thing. Wang Shi advised Wang Jida, 9th uncle, don't worry. Dao Yuan has been clever since he was young. He has a lot of talismans in his hands and has learned the cloud mist escape. If he really wants to escape, I might not be able to catch him. As long as he doesn't encounter a foundation establishment cultivator, it won't be difficult to preserve his life. Wang Daoyuan also repeatedly promised that he would pay attention to his life. Chapter 61. Returning to the cave abode, his divine sense entered the space of the spirit pearl and harvested all the ripe soul-gathering pill ingredients. The last time he asked 7th uncle to refine soul-gathering pills, he obtained more than 700 pills. After handing in 500 pills, he still had more than 200 pills left. With so many soul-gathering pills, it was enough for him to cultivate for 1 or 2 years. There were still a few hundred sets of ingredients stored in the space. Even if he cultivated to the peak stage of Qi refinement, he wouldn't need so many. Planting too many soul-gathering pill ingredients would be meaningless. Wang Daoyuan planted the newly bought golden thread spirit jujube, fiery sun wood, and a few spirit herb seeds that he got when he bought the lotus seeds. As for the 5 lotus seeds, he didn't dare to throw them directly into the fish pond. Those Qing River carps were all gluttons and would eat whatever they caught. If he threw the lotus seeds in, they would become food for the Qing River carps. He could only dig a 3-meter wide puddle in the newly cleared space and plant the lotus seeds in the puddle. He wasn't worried about whether it was black jade lotus or not. As long as it could germinate, even if it was only black water lotus, the lotus roots could be sold to his restaurant. The restaurant would have one more ingredient. After packing up, Wang Daoyuan changed into a black robe, a veil, and a bamboo hat. He used the invisibility spell and left the Pill Seal Pavilion, revealing himself in a secluded place. He returned to the Pill Seal Pavilion and bought some detoxification and healing pills, as well as 50 kilograms of spirit ink. These spirit ink were all made from Tier 1 cinnabar. The Wang family had a Tier 1 superior grade cinnabar mine, so they didn't lack Tier 1 spirit ink. Moreover, this cinnabar mine would occasionally produce some impure Tier 2 inferior grade cinnabar. After refining, it could be made into Tier 2 spirit ink. Thus, the Wang family had plenty of spirit ink. Other than for personal use, they could also sell it in large quantities. After leaving the Pill Seal Pavilion, he went straight to the Divine Weapon Pavilion and chose a Tier 1 superior grade talisman pen. It wouldn't be strange if he encountered any trouble on this trip to the heaven/mountain range. It was better to be prepared. Although he still had more than 400 spirit talismans, he couldn't say when he would run out. With the talisman pen and spirit ink, he could refine spirit talismans in his free time. After everything was ready, Wang Daoyuan took the family's spirit ship and headed northeast along the stream. From Clear Glass City to the upper reaches of Clear Stream, he could only take a spirit ship. It wasn't that the land route was difficult to travel, but after leaving Clear Glass City, all the way to the outskirts of the heavenly/mountain range, the south bank of Clear Stream was basically the Liang clan's territory, and 1,000 miles of the north bank was also controlled by the Liang clan, not allowing people from opposing clans to pass through. The Liang family's territory surrounded Clear Glass City from the east, north, and west. They wanted to isolate the Wang, Yang, and Meng families. Fortunately, the Wang and Meng families both had waterways that led to Qingli City. The Liang family was not bold enough to block off the waterways. After all, there were many mines in Huiyan Mountain, and the ores they mined were all transported by Qingli River's waterway. The various powers in Qingli Prefecture also mainly relied on the waterway to transport their goods. If the Liang family dared to seal the waterway, the elders of the Netherworld sect would skin the Liang family alive. The Yang family was also located on the southern bank of the Clear Stream. Most of their territory was only a few dozen kilometers away from the Clear Stream, but there was only one territory on the bank of the Clear Stream that was close to the periphery of the sky/mountain range. Demonic beasts ran amok there, and even rank 2 demonic beasts frequently appeared. Even Foundation establishment cultivators could not protect that place. It simply did not have the conditions to build a pier. Because the Yang and Liang families did not get along, the Liang family prohibited the Yang family from using the pier along the Clear Stream. This caused the Yang family to transport large quantities of goods by land, severely affecting the Yang family's development. However, the Liang family also did not have many years left. The Liang family's ancestor, Liang, was already over 400 years old. In less than 100 years, he would definitely die. And the rest of the Liang family did not have any peerlessly talented people. It would be very difficult for them to give birth to another Zifu realm cultivator. And the Yang family's ancestor, Yang Yong, was only over 350 years old. He still had over 100 years of life left. When Liang passed away, the Liang family that had been causing trouble everywhere for several hundred years would definitely be beaten to death. Although Liang was an outsider of the Netherworld sect and could ask the elders of the outsider to help. But those fellows of the outsider faction who would not get up early without benefits would not help for free. If the Liang family asked for help, wouldn't they have to pay a huge price? Once or twice was still fine, but after a long time, the Liang family definitely would not be able to hold on. Most likely, before the Wang, Yang, and Meng families destroyed them, they would be eaten up by the outsider faction of the Netherworld sect. And the Liang family's territory was surrounded by the three families. If they did not eat up one of the three families, they would have no place to expand at all. It would also be very difficult for the Liang family's strength to improve. Therefore, the Wang, Yang, and Meng families had always been in a defensive state. As long as they could hold off the Liang family for another 100 years, the Liang family would definitely be finished. Wang Daoyuan sat on the spirit ship. Looking at the beautiful mountains and rivers on both sides, he felt a surge of anger in his heart. This was all the Wang family's territory. For 300 years, the Liang family had forcefully seized it and nibbled away the essence of the land. There were many spirit veins, spirit fields, and mines on both sides of the clear stream. All of them benefited the Liang family. Fortunately, the spirit ship was empty and very fast. It only took slightly more than 2 days to travel 1,000 miles. It did not make him feel angry for too long. 1,000 miles away from Clear Glass City, the north bank of the clear stream was already the Wang family's territory. There were not many spirit veins in this area, but there were a few mines. Continuing up the clear stream, in less than 250 miles, they entered the periphery of the heaven/mountain range. There were many spirit veins and mines there, but demon beasts ran rampant. Itinerant cultivators who were desperate came and went, and it was very difficult to establish a stronghold. The spirit ship traveled another 50 miles and arrived at Clear Stream Village. Wang Daoyuan left the ship and went ashore. Looking at the familiar village, he felt emotional. He could be considered to have returned home in glory. Wang Daoyuan went ashore at the west side of Clear Stream Village. He walked along the small path in the fields towards the village. Under a willow tree by the side of the road, a little boy of 3 or 4 years old was squatting on the ground to pee and play with mud. His body was covered in mud and his face was smeared like a cat. Wang Daoyuan walked closer to take a look. This brat's face was somewhat familiar. He was probably the child of some childhood playmate. The little boy did not notice someone coming over and was playing with the mud happily. Wang Daoyuan walked over and lightly kicked his butt, asking, "Little fellow, what's your name?" The little fellow turned around and saw that the person who asked the question was wearing the clothes of an immortal. He remembered that his parents had warned him not to provoke immortals, and he was so scared that he cried. The child's cries spread. Not far from the village entrance, a dog barked in a deep courtyard. A black dog barked and rushed over. The dog looked even more familiar. It looked exactly the same as Dahe, but it was bigger. Wang Daoyuan called out tentatively, "Dahe." The black dog stopped barking and looked at him. It was stunned for a long time, then walked to his side and sniffed for a long time before recognizing him. It immediately shook its head and wagged its tail, circling around him and rubbing its head against his leg. Wang Daoyuan was a little surprised. It was really Dahe. However, this was not very possible. Even if a normal dog was carefully cared for, it would be difficult for it to live to 20 years old. For a dog like Dahe, who was always free, it usually could not live past 12 years old. When he left home, Dahe was already 6 or 7 years old. After 15 years, Dahe was still alive and did not look old at all. Could it be that it had become a spirit beast? Wang Daoyuan carefully examined Dahe's body and found that its physical quality was far better than ordinary dogs. It was equivalent to a human practitioner in the peak of opening meridians. It was only one step away from becoming a first-level spirit beast. No wonder it was still so strong after living for more than 20 years. Compared with human beings, spirit beasts' cultivation progress was slow, but their lifespans were longer. With a little progress in cultivation, their lifespans would be greatly increased. It was normal that Dahe could live until now without showing any signs of aging. At this time, a middle-aged woman came out of the deep courtyard and shouted, "Who bullied my eldest grandson?" When Wang Daoyuan saw the woman, his eyes blurred and he shouted, "Mother!" After all, they were mother and son. Even if they had not seen each other for more than 10 years, they were connected by heart. Seeing that Dahe was so close to Wang Daoyuan, she was sure that the immortal in front of her was her son, Erwa. She asked, "Are you Erwa?" Wang Daoyuan replied while crying, "Mother, it's me. I'm Erwa." Wang Daoyuan's mother was a mortal of the Yang family. Mortal women in cultivation families generally did not have names, and Wang Daoyuan's mother was no exception. After marrying, she had been called Madame Yang. Madame Yang ran over and hugged her son. She cried and said, "Erwa, you're finally back. You left home when you were 5 years old, and you've been away for more than 10 years. I miss you so much." Chapter 62. Wang Daoyuan persuaded Mrs. Wang Yang for a long time before she stopped crying. "Erwa, come home with me. Your father always brags about you to the villagers. He will be very happy when you come back." Wang Daoyuan pointed to the crying child and asked, "Is this my eldest brother's son?" I was wondering why he looked so familiar. He wanted to hug his eldest nephew, but the child was covered in urine and mud. It was really disgusting. He ran his spiritual power and summoned a large amount of water from the clear stream. He washed the child from head to toe. Then he waved his hand to disperse the water on the child's body and dried his clothes. Looking at her grandson who had become clean in an instant, Mrs. Wang Yang didn't dare to recognize him. She was so shocked by her son's means that she couldn't speak. The little brat also opened his mouth in surprise. Wang Daoyuan picked up his eldest nephew and supported his mother as they walked towards the deep courtyard. Dahe followed behind them excitedly. Walking through the gate, he scanned with his divine sense and found that the house was still a 3-section courtyard. It seemed that the family took good care of their parents. When Wang Daoyuan was a child, his family lived in a brick house without walls. It was incomparable with the current 3-section courtyard house. The gatehouse next to the gate was Dahe's nest. With Dahe as the gatehouse, no one dared to enter except for the villagers. Entering the inner courtyard, a middle-aged man in clean and simple clothes was cleaning the courtyard. It was Wang Daoyuan's father, Wang Fu. As soon as he saw an immortal holding his grandson, he hurriedly stepped forward and said, "May I know what brings you here?" Then he scolded his grandson, "Little brat, come down quickly." Mrs. Wang Yang said disdainfully, "Old man, your eyesight is really bad. Can't you see who this is?" Wang Fu looked carefully for a long time before asking, "Is this Erwa?" Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "Father, it's me. I'm back." Wang Fu laughed heartily. "You're finally back. You've been away from home for 15 years, 1 month, and 3 days. You're finally back." A father's love was like a mountain, silent but deep. Although he didn't show it, he clearly remembered how long his son had been away. Hearing Wang Fu's laughter, an 8 or 9-year-old boy ran out from the west wing. This boy was 70 to 80% similar to Wang Daoyuan. He was very big, at least 120 to 30 kilograms. One look and one could tell that he would definitely grow up to be a strong man. Wang Fu introduced, "This is your third brother. He hasn't been given a proper name yet. His nickname is Sanwa." She then scolded Sanwa, "You've been clamoring to find your second brother all day long. Now that your second brother is back, you don't know how to call people." Sanwa stared at Wang Daoyuan's face for a long time and asked, "Are you really my second brother?" Wang Daoyuan smiled and replied, "Look at my face. Don't you find it familiar?" Sanwa scratched his head and said, "He does look familiar, but I can't remember where I've seen him before." Madame Wang Yang knocked on her silly son's head and said, "Go and look in the mirror." Sanwa ran to the fish tank in the yard and looked at the fish tank. "I was wondering why you looked so familiar. It turns out that you look similar to me." Wang Daoyuan asked, "Do you believe that I'm your second brother now?" Sanwa smiled and said, "I believe you. Second brother, you're an immortal now. Is there anything delicious to eat? I can't even fill my stomach at home. Wang Daoyuan was a little surprised. Looking at the house, it didn't look like there was a shortage of food. Why couldn't they have enough to eat? He asked, Father, is our family short of food? Why is Sanhua still hungry? Wang Fu sighed and said, Alas, our family is not short of food, but Sanhua eats too much. Since he was 3 years old, his appetite has been different from ordinary people. Now, he can eat 10 jin of food for a meal, but he still says that he's not full. The immortals in the family have come to see him, but they didn't see anything wrong with him. I'm afraid that he'll eat too much, so I don't dare to let him eat. Look at his body. Can he be hungry? Wang Daoyuan used the fire attribute talisman to cook 2 jin of spiritual grains from the space. He asked Sanhua to bring a container to eat. This guy directly brought a basin. He put the spiritual grains into the basin and said, Eat as much as you want. After eating, there's still more. I guarantee that you'll be full. Sanhua held the basin and began to eat. The 2 jin of spiritual grains were quickly eaten up. Seeing this, Wang Daoyuan was shocked. 1 jin of spiritual grains was equivalent to 30 jin of ordinary food. If he ate 1 jin, he wouldn't be hungry for 3 days. 2 jin of spiritual grains were eaten up so quickly. It seemed that he wasn't full yet. Wang Daoyuan continued to cook spiritual grains for him in the space. Sanhua ate 5 jin of spiritual grains before patting his belly and saying, I'm finally full. Wang Daoyuan used his divine sense to check his third brother's whole body. He didn't find any problems, but his body absorbed nutrients very quickly. Even the spiritual energy was quickly absorbed. It was very likely that he had a special physique. He said with a smile, Third brother, do you know how much you've eaten? This 5 jin of spiritual grains is equivalent to 150 jin of food. Wang Yang was frightened and hurriedly asked Wang Daoyuan, Erwa, Sanhua ate so much. Won't he be full? Wang Daoyuan replied, Mother, don't worry. This spiritual grain is just better than normal grain. It's only 5 caddies. Third brother can eat 10 caddies of grain without any problems, so 5 caddies of spiritual grain won't make him full. It's just that spiritual grains are not easy to digest. He may not be hungry for a few days. Only then did Wang Yang feel relieved. She turned and went into the kitchen to cook something for Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan hadn't tasted his mother's cooking for many years. He was really a little hungry. However, eating ordinary food was not only not good for him, but also had some disadvantages. So, he took out a few jin of spiritual grains and 2 2-foot-long pseudo-spiritual fish from the space of the spiritual pearl. He gave them to his mother and said, Mother, eating ordinary food is harmful to my cultivation. It's better to use these things to cook. You can eat them to strengthen your body. Seeing the 2 big fish, the eyes of nephew Gu in his arms lit up. Children were curious, and he was no exception. He struggled to get down. Wang Daoyuan put him down, and he rushed directly to the 2 big fish. He even held the 2 fish in his arms. The clothes that had just been washed were stained with the smell of fish. Looking at the 2 fish, Sanhua's face was full of regret. He said angrily, Second brother, you tricked me into eating spiritual grains. When I was full, you took out the fish. Wang Daoyuan touched Sanhua's head and said, Don't worry. There are so many fish that you can't finish them. Hearing this, Sanhua immediately turned from anger to joy. After chatting for a while, a man and a woman walked in from outside. The man looked familiar. He was Wang Daoyuan's eldest brother, Wang Meng. He was a very strong man. Among the 3 brothers, Wang Daoyuan, who had a medium build, was the thinnest. Wang Meng saw an immortal who looked like him and was talking with his father. He guessed, Is this second brother back? Wang Daoyuan smiled, Big brother, we haven't seen each other for more than 10 years. You can still recognize me. Of course. Wang Meng said proudly, We are brothers. The sister-in-law's family was in a nearby village. She was also a mortal member of the Wang family, so she was called Wang Shi. Wang Shi went forward and bowed. Wang Daoyuan said, "You are welcome." Then, Wang Shi went to the kitchen and took her son away from the big fish. The naughty child quickly ran to Wang Daoyuan to seek protection. Wang Daoyuan called a ball of water and washed the naughty child from head to toe. He smiled and said, "Before I entered the village, I saw nephew Gu playing with the mud at the entrance. I helped him clean, but he got dirty again." Chapter 63. Seeing that her son had been washed clean, Mrs. Wang stopped beating him and went into the kitchen to help cook. Seeing that his mother had stopped beating him, the naughty boy became arrogant again. Wang Meng glared at him and he ran back to the east wing. The four of them chatted about their daily lives. Unknowingly, the meal was ready. The family gathered around the table to eat, and the atmosphere was harmonious. Since Wang Daoyuan embarked on the path of cultivation at the age of 5, the family had never gathered together for a meal like today. Everyone had a good time eating. Only Sanhua was sulking. Looking at the delicious braised fish and fish soup, he had no appetite at all. For a foodie, this was the greatest torture. Everyone ate and drank to their fill. After eating food rich in spiritual energy, they felt refreshed and felt as if they were a few years younger. Only Sanhua still had a miserable expression. Since they had a dog at home, the leftovers were naturally given to Dahe. Wang Fu called Dahe, and it immediately rushed into the inner courtyard from the kennel. The dog's nose was very sensitive, and it had already smelled the fragrance of the spiritual grains and pseudo-spirit fish. However, as an excellent watchdog, it could never steal food without its master's permission, so it had to lie in the kennel and drool. Now that it heard its master's call, it couldn't hold back and rushed over to eat something good to improve its life. Mrs. Wang Yang poured the fish bones for Dahe to eat. Dahe deserved to be a spirit beast that was about to become a first-level spirit beast. The pseudo-spirit fish could be regarded as a fish that had embarked on the path of cultivation. Its bones were harder than those of ordinary fish, but they were directly crushed by Dahe's sharp teeth. The bones of the two big fish and some fish soup were eaten clean in a dozen breaths of time. Dahe's eyes began to stare at the leftover spiritual grains again. Mrs. Wang Yang was used to being thrifty, so she was reluctant to feed it such good things. Looking at its pitiful look, Wang Daoyuan took out a spirit-gathering pill. Dahe looked at the spirit-gathering pill with its eyes wide open. The instinctive reaction of animals was much more sensitive than that of humans. Although Dahe's intelligence was only a little higher than that of ordinary dogs, when it saw the spirit-gathering pill, it instinctively felt that it would be of great use to it. Wang Daoyuan fed the spirit-gathering pill to Dahe. Dahe immediately swallowed the spirit-gathering pill and lay aside, as if waiting for something. After waiting for a quarter of an hour, her mother and sister-in-law had cleaned up the pots and pans, but Dahe still had no reaction at all. Oh, Yang Ming mumbled to himself. Big Black was only a step away from becoming a rank 1 spirit beast. The spirit-gathering pill was a pill used by chi refinement cultivators to increase their cultivation level. It was useful for late-stage chi refinement cultivators. However, Blackie's cultivation level was not as good as a first-stage chi refinement cultivator. There should be some sort of reaction after consuming such a spirit-gathering pill. After waiting for an hour, Dahe finally reacted. It began to get excited and ran around the yard. Wang Daoyuan finally understood that he had been thinking too highly of himself. Human cultivators revolved their cultivation methods and refined spiritual pills. Naturally, they would have a clear reaction as soon as the spiritual pill entered their stomach. Dahe was just an ordinary dog that had mutated. It didn't know how to cultivate at all, so it could only digest and absorb the spirit-gathering pill. Dahe became more and more uneasy. It rushed out of the house and ran towards the clear stream. Wang Daoyuan's cultivation level was at the 7th level of chi refinement. Naturally, he would not be left behind by Dahe, who had not yet become a spirit beast, and he also ran out. Dahe ran along the river bank, consuming too much energy in its body. However, the situation was still within Wang Daoyuan's expectations. After all, Dahe was a quasi-spirit beast, and its body was much stronger than that of ordinary cultivators at the early stage of qi refinement. A spirit-gathering pill would not cause any harm to it. After running for a while, Dahe's body began to emit white smoke. It seemed to be very hot. It stretched out its tongue and panted as it ran. In the end, it couldn't stand the heat and directly jumped into the clear stream. After struggling for an hour, Dahe's spiritual power fluctuations began to weaken, but it still did not succeed in breaking through. If it continued like this, it would be impossible for it to become a rank 1 spirit beast. Wang Daoyuan threw another spirit-gathering pill over. Although Dahe was hot all over, it still swallowed the spirit-gathering pill. Another hour passed, and Dahe's spiritual power fluctuations, which had gradually weakened, became stronger again. At this time, some demonic beasts in the water sensed the spiritual power and came over to join in the fun. The life of demonic beasts was much harder than that of humans. They could only improve their cultivation by instinct or by swallowing spiritual objects. When they sensed the spiritual power fluctuations, they all came forward, trying to eat Dahe to increase their cultivation. Of course, those who could take a fancy to Dahe's spiritual power were not powerful. There were only a few demonic beasts of lower rank 1, and the others were not ranked. Wang Daoyuan naturally would not let the demonic beasts have their way, so he directly used the water dragon skill. The dragon clan was the king of all aquatic demonic beasts, and the water dragon skill carried a trace of dragon power. As soon as the water dragon came out, the demonic beasts that were not ranked were so scared that they did not dare to move, and the ranked ones hurriedly ran away. His main purpose was to protect Dahe, so he was too lazy to chase after them. He only took down a crocodile of lower rank 1, and with a swing of his dragon tail, the crocodile was pulled ashore. The crocodile was out of the water, but its ferocity did not decrease. It tried to attack Wang Daoyuan, but it was knocked out by a kick. There were only hundreds of fainted fishes, shrimps, and crabs around Dahe, all of which were not ranked. Wang Daoyuan manipulated the water dragon to roll up a big wave, and all these fishes, shrimps, and crabs were swept ashore. The water dragon was still guarding Dahe. At this time, Dahe finally finished brewing. With a sharp wolf howl, the spiritual power fluctuations in Dahe's body stabilized, and it was successfully promoted to a spirit beast of lower rank 1. At this time, a spirit ship came from downstream, and a strong man on the ship waved to Wang Daoyuan and said, "Seventh brother, I'm coming." It turned out to be his second brother, Wang Daoxing. Wang Daoyuan controlled the water dragon to swim over. Wang Daoxing jumped on the water dragon and was taken ashore by the water dragon. Wang Daoxing looked at the river bank full of fish and a ranked crocodile, and asked, "Seventh brother, what's going on? Are you using the water dragon technique to catch fish?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "My dog, which has been raised by my family for more than 20 years, was promoted to a spirit beast today. This group of reckless things wanted to take advantage of me, so I dragged them up." At this time, Dahe had already come ashore. It shook its fur and wagged its head and tail to Wang Daoyuan's side. Dahe's appearance did not change much, but it was much bigger. Originally, it was as tall as Wang Daoyuan's thigh, but now it was taller than his waist. Wang Daoxing glanced at Dahe and said, "An ordinary dog can be promoted to a spirit beast of lower rank 1. This dog is very lucky. I've benefited from this black dog. As soon as I arrived here, there were a lot of freshwater fish waiting for me. Second brother, I've come to your territory. You can't let me leave on an empty stomach, right?" Wang Daoxing mainly refined his body, so he had a great need for food. Naturally, he was also a foodie. Seeing the freshwater fish all over the ground and the ranked crocodile, he could not move his legs. Even if it was not ranked, it tasted better than eating spiritual grains. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Second brother, do you like this lower rank 1 crocodile? If you roast it, it'll be enough for us to eat for a few days." Wang Daoxing patted Wang Daoyuan's shoulder and said, "Seventh brother, you know me well. Chapter 64. Wang Daoyuan asked his eldest brother to give every family in the village a freshwater fish. There were still 20 to 30 fish, turtles, shrimp, and crabs left. Mortal fire was useful for unranked fish, shrimp, and crabs, but it was useless for a first-tier, low-grade crocodile. Neither of them were fire attribute cultivators, so they could only use fire attribute spirit talismans to roast the crocodile. After cutting open the crocodile's stomach and removing its scales, Wang Daoyuan used the Mystic Yang sword and 2 stones to build a simple roasting rack. He took out a first-tier, high-grade fire attribute spirit talisman. After activating it, he roasted the crocodile with spirit fire. Wang Daoxing's eyelids twitched when he saw this. A first-tier, high-grade talisman cost 5 spirit stones. He didn't know any cultivation arts, so he couldn't earn many spirit stones in a month. Wang Daoyuan gave the other freshwater fish to his father and left them for the family to eat. The crocodile was soon roasted. The two tore off a large piece of meat from the crocodile and ate happily. Nephew Gu was drooling at the sight. He ran over, wanting to share some of the meat, but Wang Daoyuan pulled him aside. This crocodile meat can only be eaten by cultivators. Ordinary people can die from just one bite. If you want some meat, ask Grandpa for it. You can eat it. Ordinary people's bodies were too weak, so they could only eat non-ranked phase. Apart from spirit grains, which had a very mild spirit chi, eating a little of it could be fatal. Sanhua was also very hungry. It wanted to eat some crocodile meat, but its stomach was still full. Blackie didn't care. It monopolized the crocodile's internal organs and was happily gnawing at them. It had used up too much energy to increase its size. Now, it had made up for it and could also increase its cultivation. Spirit beasts without bloodline inheritances relied on eating phase to increase their cultivation. The two of them chatted as they ate. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Second brother, why do you have time to come to Qingxi village?" Wang Daoxing was stunned for a moment. He slapped his thigh and said, "I saw that there was demonic beast meat and forgot about business. Something happened at Mirror Iron Mountain, and the Patriarch sent me to deal with it." Mirror Iron Mountain's original name was Mirror Mountain. The origin of the name was unknown. The ancestors of the Wang family found a red iron mine in the belly of the mountain, so it was renamed Mirror Iron Mountain. It was not far from Qingxi village, only about 50 kilometers away. It was under the care of 8th uncle Wang Shoujiang. Most of the people mining there were ordinary members of the Wang family. There were also some itinerant cultivators at the initial stage of qi refinement or even meridian opening. They were there to earn some cultivation resources. What happened? Wang Daoyuan asked while eating. Wang Daoxing swallowed the meat in his mouth and said, "Recently, there have been people disappearing in the mine every now and then. At first, the disappearances were all rogue cultivators. After all, it is very common for rogue cultivators to leave after earning some resources, so the clansmen guarding the mine did not notice. Later on, mortals in the clan began to go missing. The families of the missing came to the mine to inquire. Only then did 8th uncle know that someone had gone missing. He searched the area but found nothing. He waited for a few days but still found nothing. 8th uncle reported it to the family, and the Patriarch sent me to assist 8th uncle. His 8th uncle, Wang Shoujiang, was not even 50 years old yet. He was at the 9th level of Qi disciple. His talent was not bad, and he belonged to the category of combat talents. Besides, it was impossible to guard a business at the edge of the family's territory without any fighting power. What's more, the Mirror Iron Mountain was not far from the edge of the sky/mountain range, and there were often first-rank demonic beasts around. Wang Daoyuan was a little curious and asked, "8th uncle can't handle it. Why did the Patriarch send you here?" Wang Daoxing glanced at him and said, "Why? Are you looking down on me?" Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "How would I dare? It's just that your strength shouldn't be as good as 8th uncle's. When it comes to using your brain, you don't know anything about it. Aside from being a helper for 8th uncle when there are powerful demonic beasts, you won't be of any use. I don't know what the Patriarch's intention is. Does the patriarch think that the demonic beast is so strong that eighth uncle can't deal with it alone? Wang Daoxing was still chewing meat in his mouth. How would I know? The patriarch didn't tell me the specific situation. He just asked me to come here and listen to eighth uncle's arrangements. Wang Daoyuan thought for a while and said, then I'll go with you. We can take care of each other. Since we're searching for the enemy, I'll bring Big Black. It has a keen sense of smell and is better than us in this aspect. The soul-chasing bee could not be exposed. Otherwise, it would be more efficient to use it to track the enemy. Wang Daoxing naturally had no objections. Having someone to help him was better than going alone. Wang Daoyuan bade farewell to his parents and put away the roasted crocodile and Big Black's food. He put Big Black into the spirit beast bag and followed his second brother to Mirror Iron Mountain. The spirit ship was already far away, and the two could only rely on their legs. They used first-grade high-grade spirit travel talismans, and their speed was much faster than riding the spirit ship. The two ran for less than an hour, and Mirror Iron Mountain was already in sight. Mirror Iron Mountain was not tall, only a few hundred feet. The mountain's roots were especially large, but this made it convenient for the Wang family to mine and transport the ores. This place was only about 10 miles away from Mirror Iron Mountain. Wang Daoyuan let his second brother go alone while he disguised himself as a loose cultivator and patrolled the nearby area. If the two of them went together, if the enemy was human, it would be easy for them to hide and not make a move. That would be troublesome. One could be a thief for 1,000 days, but not a thief for 1,000 days. If the two of them separated, one in the light and one in the dark, the enemy would not be too wary. Since the enemy dared to provoke a cultivator at the 9th level of Qi refinement who was relatively strong in fights of magical powers, they would not be scared away by an 8th level Qi refinement cultivator. Wang Daoyuan was in the dark, so it was convenient for him to investigate and not make the enemy too vigilant. He changed into a black robe and put on a veil and a bamboo hat. It was already late. Wang Daoyuan used an invisibility spell and an aura concealment talisman to sneak into a small forest about 1.5 miles southwest of Mirror Iron Mountain. He found a large tree with lush foliage and hid among the branches and leaves. With the invisibility spell and aura concealment talisman, as well as the cover of the branches and leaves, as long as the enemy was not a Foundation Establishment cultivator or above, it would be difficult for them to discover him even if he was under the tree. Of course, the enemy could not be a Foundation Establishment cultivator. Otherwise, they could have just faced him head-on. There was no need to be sneaky. Perhaps the enemy saw that the Wang family had a new helper and did not know the details, so they did not dare to act rashly. It was safe for a few days. In these few days, Wang Daoyuan explored the surroundings and released Big Black to search, but he did not find any traces of demon beasts or other cultivators nearby. After waiting for a few more days, there was still no movement. Wang Daoyuan decided to change his strategy. He first secretly sent a message to Wang Daoxing, asking him and 8th uncle to announce that the problem had been solved. Then, he recruited a group of miners and used an aura concealment talisman to disguise himself as an early-stage Qi refinement itinerant cultivator. Based on the fact that the enemy first attacked itinerant cultivators and then ordinary people, it could be seen that his main target was cultivators. The reason why he attacked ordinary people was probably because there were no more cultivators. And Wang Daoyuan used a mid-grade level 1 aura concealment talisman, which could not completely conceal his aura at the 7th level of Qi refinement. The aura that leaked out was probably at the 1st or 2nd level of Qi refinement or the peak of meridian opening. After the incident, some itinerant cultivators went missing, and some were scared away. There were no more cultivators among the miners of Mirror Iron Mountain. Wang Daoyuan went in. As a rare cultivator miner, he was more attractive than ordinary people. He was likely to become the enemy's first target. Wang Daoyuan was not worried that the enemy was too strong and would kill him. With his cloud smoke escape and hundreds of talismans, it was difficult for anyone below the Foundation Establishment to take him down. Moreover, in the mine, the enemy had little room to dodge. If he randomly scattered talismans, it would be difficult for the enemy to dodge all of them. If the enemy did not have particularly strong means and was at the peak of chi refinement, he also had a chance to kill them. Of course, the enemy's strength would not be too strong. At least, they would not be a match for Eighth Uncle. Otherwise, wouldn't it be better to take down Eighth Uncle directly than to capture itinerant cultivators at the early stage chi refinement? Chapter 65. On the second day after Wang Daoyuan sent the message, Eighth Uncle Wang Shoujiang sent out a recruitment notice. Some of the ordinary clansmen in the vicinity came to mirror Iron Mountain one after another. After all, this was the edge of the Wang clan's territory and there were many demon beasts. It was very difficult to feed a family just by growing crops. Most of the young and strong clansmen chose to work in the clan's mines and forests. Wang Daoyuan changed into a black robe and did not wear a bamboo hat. He changed his name to Huang Yun and snuck into Mirror Iron Mountain. There were many loose cultivators dressed like this, so it was not conspicuous. This time, apart from the ordinary clansmen of the Wang clan, there were also a few loose cultivators who were only at the first or second level of chi refinement. Most loose cultivators did not have a systematic inheritance, so it was extremely rare for them to know the various arts of cultivation. For cultivators like them who had just stepped onto the path of cultivation, their cultivation was low, their combat strength was weak, and they did not have the ability to hunt demon beasts. They also did not have any special skills. Other than working for some factions, there was no good way out. The Wang clan's Taoism was backward and they had always behaved with their tails between their legs. They treated ordinary itinerant cultivators kindly. They had a good reputation among loose cultivators, so there were still some loose cultivators who worked for the Wang clan. Some loose cultivators even married into the Wang clan. All the cultivation clans were happy to recruit loose cultivators. After all, every clan had many female cultivators. If they married outside, the clan would suffer too much. If a cultivator who was painstakingly cultivated married into another clan, the initial investment would be wasted. Moreover, it was easy to expose some of the clan's secrets. Unless they married into a stronger clan to seek support. For example, a female cultivator from a foundation establishment clan would marry a disciple from a Zifu clan. Instead, they could recruit outstanding loose cultivators to add new blood to the clan and increase the number of cultivators in the clan. Some loose cultivators worked in the businesses of the cultivation clans with the intention of marrying into the clan. Although most clans would not help the marrying cultivators reach foundation establishment, they would still provide a lot of daily cultivation resources. The marrying cultivators themselves would not be recognized by the clan, but their descendants would grow up in the clan and would not be looked at differently. Among the loose cultivators who entered the mines with Wang Daoyuan, there was one who had the intention of marrying into the Wang clan. This person's appearance was not bad. He was more than 7 feet tall and looked to be in his early 20s. However, he gave people a feeling of greasiness. As soon as this person saw Wang Daoyuan, he took the initiative to strike up a conversation. "Brother, do you also want to marry into the Wang family?" Wang Daoyuan felt a little strange. Why would this fellow ask such a question? Could it be that this was a popular greeting among rogue cultivators? Besides, he didn't look like someone who lived off a woman. His appearance was rather masculine, and he was more than 8 feet tall. His eyebrows were like sleeping silkworms, and his eyes were like bright stars. His face was angular, and he did not look like a pretty boy at all. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Brother, why do you ask? Are many of the miners here to marry into the Wang family?" "That's not much, but that's what I'm thinking." The slick young man said, "I am Lin Yuan. Seeing that you have an extraordinary appearance and are doing this kind of work, I thought that you also wanted to marry into the Wang family. If that's the case, I have another strong opponent." Wang Daoyuan was a little suspicious of this Lin Yuan. This fellow had never seen a female cultivator of the Wang family, and he wanted to marry into their family. Either he felt that the immortal Tao was hopeless and did not want to work hard anymore. He wanted to find a place to stay and live a good life. To put it bluntly, he wanted to be a parasite. Or he was a spy sent by other forces. No matter which one it was, he was not a good person. Moreover, this fellow came at this time and even took the initiative to greet him. It was really possible that he was related to the previous missing persons case. 20 to 30 people came in the morning. In the afternoon, the steward took the newcomers down to the mine and assigned them work. The mine tunnel was dug according to the direction of the ore vein. There were many twists and turns, and there were also many forks. If not for the steward leading the way, no one would be able to find the place at all. In the mine, there were a senior steward and a junior steward. The senior steward was in charge of one of the matters in the mine, such as mining, transporting, logistics, and so on. Under the senior steward, there were several junior stewards, who were equivalent to team leaders. They were in charge of a few to dozens of people. Most of these stewards were relatives of the Wang clan cultivators. They did not have spirit roots. In order to let the cultivators have no worries, the clan usually gave them some work in the clan's business. The senior steward led the group of people into the mine. Each junior steward picked a few people and brought them into the mine tunnel they were in charge of. The junior steward assigned to Wang Daoyuan was an honest man in his 30s. He did not speak much and was quite good to the ordinary miners. He was quite loved and respected by the miners. There was also a loose cultivator assigned to Wang Daoyuan. He was in his 30s and was at the second level of Qi disciple. The strength of cultivators far exceeded that of ordinary people. Their mining speed was also far from what ordinary people could compare to. If there were cultivators under them, they would be able to dig out more ore in the entire mine tunnel. The junior steward would also be rewarded. The junior steward was very happy to be assigned 2 cultivators at once. He brought the newcomers to the rest area of his mine tunnel and said to the old miners, "This time, our mine tunnel has been assigned 2 cultivators. This month, we will definitely be ranked first. When the time comes, everyone will be rewarded." A robust young man sneered, "What's the use of cultivators? Were there few cultivators in the mine in the past? Didn't they all disappear without a trace? It's hard to say how many days these 2 can live." The loose cultivator who came with Wang Daoyuan was a little scared and asked, "Didn't you say that this matter has already been resolved?" The robust young man snorted and said, "What do you mean resolved? It's just that the clan sent another person over. Nothing happened these few days. After investigating for a few days, we can't even find out why they disappeared." The junior steward reprimanded, "What nonsense are you talking about? Do you still want to work?" The robust young man was not convinced. Just as he was about to continue arguing with the junior steward, he was pulled back by a few of his older companions. The junior steward assigned the newcomers to work and turned to leave. Wang Daoyuan wanted to get a few more words, so he pretended to be reckless and said, "Who cares what's causing trouble? I, Wang Daoyuan, have been cultivating since I was young. Do you think I'm afraid of those demons and ghosts?" Seeing Wang Daoyuan boasting, the robust young man mocked, "There were a few immortals older than you before, but they didn't even make a sound before they disappeared. No matter how strong you are, can you be stronger than the immortals sent by the clan to guard the Mirror Iron Mountain? Even that old man couldn't find out the reason, can you?" Since the junior steward was not here, everyone dared to speak. One after another, they began to talk. A middle-aged man in his 40s said, "Speaking of which, it's strange. I'm already in my 40s, but I'm not as sleepy as you youngsters. I only sleep for 4 to 6 hours a day. But every time someone goes missing, I'm especially sleepy and can sleep for more than 8 hours." Everyone was talking enthusiastically. Wang Daoyuan also discovered the abnormalities when people went missing from their conversation. The miners all slept in the resting area at night. The so-called resting area was formed by the expansion of the mine. Everyone had a straw mattress and 2 blankets. The resting area was not big, and there were dozens of people resting here. But every time someone went missing, the other people in the same mine did not notice. Even the cultivators who had not gone missing did not notice anything. In addition, the middle-aged man said that every time someone went missing, he always slept very deeply. From this, it could be inferred that someone might have poisoned him or used a spell to calm his nerves. Chapter 66. Everyone was still discussing the disappearance enthusiastically. The newcomers did not feel much fear. After all, the culprit's first target was cultivators. There were 2 of them here, so it was not their turn for the time being. The rogue cultivator who came with Wang Daoyuan seemed very nervous and scared. Wang Daoyuan also pretended to be nervous so as not to be seen through. After about a quarter of an hour, the steward came in with a few tools. Everyone stopped discussing, and Wang Daoyuan did not hear any more useful information. The steward gave out tools to the newcomers. These tools looked like pickaxes and were made from level 1 red iron. However, they were simply forged and were not forged by a blacksmith. There were no patterns on the pickaxes either. Compared to ordinary tools, they were stronger and sharper. The steward led the group to the deepest part of the mine. There was no road ahead, only red stone walls. These stones were red iron ore. These red iron ore were not hard and were similar to ordinary stones. Mortals could also break them. With the red iron pickaxes, it was not too difficult to mine the ore. As a cultivator in the late stage of qi refining, Wang Daoyuan naturally had a much easier time than ordinary people. Although he deliberately held back his strength, the amount of ore he dug was more than 10 times that of ordinary people. The amount of ore the other cultivator dug was less than half of Wang Daoyuan's. However, Wang Daoyuan grew up in a family, so his living conditions were much better than rogue cultivators. In addition, he had eaten spirit grains and pseudo-spirit fish in recent years, so his body was relatively strong. That rogue cultivator was thin and small, so it was reasonable that Wang Daoyuan was much more capable than him. Unknowingly, it was already very late. Although the sky could not be seen in the mine, the miners' bodies were the best timer. Most of the miners were hungry and tired, so it was time to stop work and eat. The steward led the group to the dining area outside the mine. The other stewards also brought people one after another. Then, the rogue cultivators and ordinary people ate separately. The ordinary people's food was ordinary grains and some fish. Ordinary food was harmful to cultivators, so the food provided to the rogue cultivators was cooked spirit grains, which were distributed according to the amount of spirit grains mined. Wang Daoyuan was given half a gene of spirit grains. Cultivators would receive these spirit grains as their reward, while ordinary people would receive some gold, silver, or food. Wang Daoyuan did not eat these spirit grains. He had already deduced that someone might have poisoned them. Naturally, he did not dare to casually eat anything. Putting away these spirit grains, he turned around and returned to the rest area of the mine. After the meal, everyone returned to the resting area. The steward came over and asked, "Are you not satisfied with the food?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "How could I? I can't eat such good food outside. I just can't bear to eat so much. I still have a younger brother at home. He's still young and needs spirit grains to nourish his body." The young steward advised, "I can understand that. I usually save some food and bring it home for the children. Although you're an immortal, you're doing the work of more than 10 people. If you don't eat, don't tire yourself out." Wang Daoyuan expressed his gratitude and said, "Steward, don't worry. When I'm hungry, I'll naturally eat some." After saying that, Wang Daoyuan's spiritual sense entered the space of the spirit pearl. He cooked 2 taels of spirit grains produced in the space of the spirit pearl and took them out to eat. Naturally, no one could see any flaws. Everyone worked hard for the whole afternoon and exhausted a lot of their physical strength. After eating, they naturally began to feel sleepy. Even the rogue cultivator began to doze off. Soon, he could no longer hold on and fell asleep. Although Wang Daoyuan worked the most, he had been restraining his strength. This was much easier than refining talismans in the Dan Talisman Pavilion and cultivating spells. In order not to be too conspicuous and attract the attention of those who were secretly watching, he also pretended to be tired. However, he still chose to meditate and cultivate. Rogue cultivators who had not given up on the path of cultivation were usually more hardworking than family disciples. The resources and inheritance of rogue cultivators could not be compared to family disciples. If they wanted to stand out, they could only work harder and risk their lives. Therefore, it was not strange that Wang Daoyuan did not rest but meditated and cultivated. He did not dare to meditate. Instead, he was always vigilant to prevent someone from sneaking an attack. Unfortunately, after being careful for a night, nothing happened. Every day, he worked during the day and maintained vigilance to meditate and cultivate at night. After 5 days, everything was calm. On the night of the 6th day, Wang Daoyuan meditated and cultivated as usual. A smell like wine came from the steward. The fragrance was very light. Ordinary people could not smell it at all. Even Wang Daoyuan could barely smell it. The steward usually lived in the rest area with the ordinary workers. However, the place he lived was a special single room in the stone wall. There was a bed and furniture inside. Wang Daoyuan smelled the fragrance and held his breath vigilantly. Cultivators could hold their breath for a long time and only rely on the spiritual power in their body to maintain their life. With Wang Daoyuan's cultivation, holding his breath for 2 or 3 hours was not a problem. In order not to be seen, after he held his breath, his chest and abdomen still rose and fell regularly, pretending that he was still breathing. Wang Daoyuan's spiritual sense swept towards that loose cultivator, imitating his state. Because the strength he showed was much stronger than that loose cultivator, he always delayed imitating his state for a while. After less than a quarter of an hour, that loose cultivator completely entered a state of drowsiness. Wang Daoyuan also went from meditating to paralyzed on the bed. The young steward walked out of his private room. His originally honest and big brother face had turned into a ferocious one. His eyes swept back and forth between Wang Daoyuan and the other loose cultivator, as if he was choosing goods. After thinking for a while, the steward chose Wang Daoyuan. After all, Wang Daoyuan was much stronger than the other loose cultivator in terms of strength and physique. His appearance was also very good. He picked up Wang Daoyuan and stuck a first-level high-grade Earth Escape talisman on Wang Daoyuan's body. Then he used his spiritual sense to trigger the Earth Escape talisman. Wang Daoyuan was directly forced to escape underground. After doing this, the steward returned to his single room and continued to sleep as if nothing had happened. Wang Daoyuan was a little surprised. There was no spiritual power fluctuation on the steward's body at all. A person with no cultivation base could actually use the power of spiritual sense to trigger the talisman. He was forced to escape underground and did not have time to think about this. After a dozen breaths, he escaped to an underground cave. He just happened to fall on a giant python. This giant python was more than 5 feet long. Its body was yellow with black lines. Its body had 2 attributes of water and earth spiritual power fluctuations. However, its cultivation base was not enough. It had just entered the first level middle grade, which was equivalent to the 4th level of qi refining. In a head-on fight, this giant python was not enough to be smashed by Wang Daoyuan's 2 talismans. Wang Daoyuan was ready. If this giant python dared to swallow him, he would kill it directly. Then he would catch the steward and interrogate him. Fortunately, this python did not swallow him. Instead, it wrapped him with its tail. Then it used the Earth Escape technique and continued to escape downwards. Wang Daoyuan was a little surprised. It seemed that this giant python was not an ordinary monster beast. It could actually use the Earth Escape technique. Ordinary first-level monster beasts, their intelligence was still very low. Basically, they did not know spells. Unless they had the bloodline of a high-level monster beast, they had their own innate spells. Or they had a master monster beast and were taught spells. He did not feel any special bloodline in this giant python. It seemed that it should be a monster beast with a master. Otherwise, it would have directly swallowed him to increase its cultivation base. Why bother to take him to other places? Chapter 67. The giant python carried Wang Daoyuan more than 30 meters deep, and the bottom was empty. At this moment, Wang Daoyuan felt a wave of water spirit energy rushing towards him. He carefully probed his surroundings with his divine sense and discovered that this hole was actually an underground river flowing towards the south. It should be flowing into the clear stream. The giant python did not go towards the clear stream. Instead, it carried Wang Daoyuan upstream. As the giant python gradually went deeper into the underground river, the surrounding water spirit energy became denser and denser. It was already comparable to the vicinity of a mid-grade Tier 1 spirit vein. After a quarter of an hour, the giant python had already traveled dozens of miles. At this moment, the density of the spirit energy was comparable to a high-grade Tier 1 spirit vein. Furthermore, it was extremely close to a low-grade Tier 2 spirit vein. The giant python stopped moving forward and stopped in the underground river. With a swing of its tail, it threw Wang Daoyuan towards the stone wall beside the river. Just as Wang Daoyuan was about to smash into the stone wall, a door suddenly opened on the stone wall. Wang Daoyuan used his divine sense to hurriedly investigate the situation inside the stone wall. He only discovered that there were many restrictions inside. If he were to enter, it would definitely be difficult for him to escape with his strength. Wang Daoyuan adjusted his body in the air and removed the force of the giant python's tail swing. Then, he took out 3 golden sword talismans and threw them into the stone door. The 3 small golden swords flew into the stone door. With a burst of explosive sounds, the small golden swords disappeared. Seeing that he had woken up, the giant python raised half of its body from the water and opened its bloody mouth to bite him. Although Wang Daoyuan did not have much close combat experience, he had still been beaten by the 12th uncle Wang Shui for 3 months when he was consolidating his cultivation. Facing a giant python that had just entered the middle grade of Tier 1, he did not feel any pressure. In order to hide his strength, he did not use the talisman again, nor did he use the cloud mist escape or the water dragon technique. He only drew out the profound yang sword. The python bit at him. The long sword in his hand chopped at the python's head. Borrowing the rebound force, he retreated to the stone wall and fell to the ground along the stone wall. As a chi refinement cultivator, it was better to be on the ground. Even if he had strength in the air, he would not be able to use it. It had to be said that although this python's cultivation was not very high, its physical strength was not weak. As soon as they exchanged blows, Wang Daoyuan's arm became slightly numb. He knew that if they were at the same cultivation level, he wouldn't be able to defeat this giant python. The giant python's attack missed, but Wang Daoyuan didn't gain any advantage. It opened its bloody mouth and tried to bite Wang Daoyuan again. This time, he stood on the ground and had room to maneuver. He kicked his feet hard and deviated from his original position. The giant python's stinky mouth bit his previous position. The profound yang sword in Wang Daoyuan's hand pierced out, striking the giant python's neck. Unfortunately, the python's skin was coarse and its flesh was thick. The profound yang sword was also not very sharp. This sword was only able to pierce an inch in and was unable to go any deeper. He flicked his sword upwards, leaving a half-foot long wound on the giant python's neck. Blood continued to seep out of the wound, but this wound was not even a minor injury for the giant python that was more than 5 feet long. The wound instead stimulated the giant python's ferocious nature. It raised its head and pounced at Wang Daoyuan again. Although the giant python's physical body was strong, its cultivation and divine sense were far inferior to Wang Daoyuan's. Its reaction speed was also far behind. Before its mouth could bite, Wang Daoyuan jumped up and landed on the giant python's neck. The giant python's neck bent, revealing a gap in the scales at the back of its neck. Wang Daoyuan held the profound yang sword tightly with both hands and pierced through the gap in the scales at the giant python's neck. This sword was not blocked by the scales and entered more than 3 inches into the python's body. It could be considered a light injury to the giant python. Even the flexibility of its head was affected. The giant python felt the pain and wanted to counterattack, but Wang Daoyuan was standing on its neck. No matter how powerful its mouth was, it couldn't bite the back of his head. Although pythons were agile, they all had a weakness. Their mouths couldn't reach their tails, and their tails naturally couldn't hit the back of their heads. At this moment, Wang Daoyuan was standing on the back of the python's neck, which was a blind spot for the python. At this moment, the profound Yang's sword was still stuck in the gap between the python's scales, constantly bleeding it. The python twisted its body with all its might, trying to throw Wang Daoyuan off. Unfortunately, the profound Yang's sword was stuck in the ground tightly. Wang Daoyuan held the sword hilt tightly, and no matter how the giant python tried to shake its body, it wouldn't come down. The pain on its neck made the giant python extremely irritable. It used its neck to smash into the stone wall in an attempt to smash Wang Daoyuan to death. When the giant python's neck was less than 3 meters away from the stone wall, Wang Daoyuan abandoned the profound Yang's sword and ran down the python's body, avoiding the collision. However, the profound Yang's sword was still stuck in the giant python's neck. With this collision, the profound Yang's sword had penetrated more than half a foot. Even though the giant python's skin was thick, it was still heavily injured. The python's head drooped down weakly. Wang Daoyuan once again ran to the giant python's neck. Holding the profound Yang's sword, he used all his strength to stir the sword, hoping to cause more damage to the giant python. The giant python let out a series of roars, but it was powerless. Blood spurted out from the profound Yang's sword like a fountain. Seeing that stirring the wound was effective, Wang Daoyuan changed from stirring to cutting horizontally to widen the wound. Sure enough, as the wound expanded, the blood spurted higher and higher. The giant python was already powerless to resist. In less than a quarter of an hour, the python would die from blood loss. An old voice sounded. This time, it was this evil creature that offended Dao Yu. Dao Yu, please be magnanimous and let it live. Wang Daoyuan mocked. Dao Yu's words are really easy to say. You poisoned me and even dragged me here. With such tight cooperation, you really are a good beast. When the person in the dark heard Wang Daoyuan scolding him, he snorted coldly and said, Dao Yu should leave now. Don't waste your life. Of course, these words were only to deceive a fool who had no experience in the pugilistic world. The secret cave abode had been exposed. How could the person in the dark let someone who knew about it leave alive? Wang Daoyuan said disdainfully, I was sleeping well. This beast dragged me here and wants me to leave with just a few words. How can there be such a good thing? The person in the dark said angrily, this matter is also Dao Yu's fault. You hid your cultivation and sneaked into my territory. You can't blame this evil creature for being captured here. These words made Wang Daoyuan so angry that he laughed. As far as I know, this mirror iron mountain is the property of the Wang family. May I ask who Dao Yu is to the Wang family? The person in the dark said with a smile, Dao Yu, are you going to stand up for the Wang family? I'm afraid you don't have the ability. Wang Daoyuan pulled out the mystic Yang's sword and jumped down from the python. He said, it's only 2 moves. How does Dao Yu know that I don't have the ability? The person in the dark sneered, it's hard to persuade a damned ghost with kind words. I gave Dao Yu a chance to leave. Unfortunately, Dao Yu didn't cherish it. Then stay. I haven't captured a late-stage qi refinement itinerant cultivator. You are the first. With that said, 2 smaller pythons and a 4-feet-long crocodile crawled out of the door. These 3 demon beasts were all middle-grade tier 1. They were even stronger than the python from before. Following that, an old man in a black robe walked out of the stone door. He asked with a smile, are these evil creatures worthy of Dao Yu's attention? I've long advised Dao Yu to leave, but you insist on sending yourself to your death. Why do you have to do this at such a young age? I advise Dao Yu to be obedient. Resisting is just looking for trouble. If you give up resisting, you will die a quick death and I will kill you easily. Why not? Chapter 68. Wang Daoyuan sneered, a toad yawning, such big words. You dare to ask me to surrender with just these few pieces of rotten garlic? After saying that, Wang Daoyuan condensed a ball of water spiritual energy and turned it into a 3 feet long water dragon, emitting a faint dragon's aura. The 3 demonic beasts sensed the dragon's might and retreated a distance before the battle even started. The black-robed old man said in surprise, "The water dragon's scales and claws can intimidate monsters. You're from the Wang clan? No wonder you're looking for death. If Wang Shi came personally, I would be afraid of him. You little kid, the water dragon you condensed is only 3 feet long, and you dare to be impudent in front of me." Wang Daoyuan mocked, "You old fool, you really boast shamelessly. Give me back my 12th uncle and you're afraid of him. If the 12th uncle came personally, even if you peed in your pants, the 12th uncle would make you hold it back. I'm enough to take care of you. Don't say I didn't give you a chance. Surrender now and tell me who ordered you to come. I'll let you die a quick death. Otherwise, it'll be too late for you to beg for mercy." The black-robed old man became angry and scolded, "Little bastard, you're courting death." After saying that, he ordered the 3 frightened monsters to come forward. Although the 3 monsters were afraid, they didn't dare to disobey and could only slowly crawl forward. Wang Daoyuan's water dragon was still too small, and the water dragon technique wasn't good at attacking. He simply wrapped the water dragon around his body and turned it into a dragon-patterned armor. This was a technique derived from the Wang clan's water dragon technique and the water armor technique, water dragon armor, which could greatly increase one's defense. Wang Daoyuan's water dragon armor was still a deterrent to demonic beasts. Under the urging of the black-robed old man, the 3 demonic beasts finally arrived in front of Wang Daoyuan. The 3 demonic beasts attacked Wang Daoyuan at the same time. Wang Daoyuan directly used the smoke escape technique, and a cloud of mist with a diameter of over 30 meters instantly appeared. Wang Daoyuan disappeared from his original position. In this place, the water spirit qi was very dense. When Wang Daoyuan used the smoke escape technique, the cloud he condensed was much larger than usual. The 3 demonic beasts missed and crashed into each other. They did not know what to do in the fog. Wang Daoyuan suddenly appeared about 3 meters away from the black-robed old man and threw out a golden sword talisman. At this distance, unless one was prepared, it would be very difficult to dodge. From the old man's surprised expression, it could be seen that he had not expected Wang Daoyuan to do this. If this golden sword art was hit, even if he didn't die, he would be severely injured. Just when Wang Daoyuan thought that he could seriously injure his opponent, a figure flew from the side and blocked the golden sword talisman's attack. This figure was a loose cultivator's common attire. It should be one of the loose cultivators who went missing earlier. Looking at his aura, he should be at the 2nd level of Qi disciple. The small golden sword hit the loose cultivator's chest. The metal attribute spiritual energy entered his body. He spat out a large mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. He could not be more dead. However, Wang Daoyuan was very surprised. This person looked like a living person, but why would a captured person risk his life to save the black-robed old man? The black-robed old man seized the opportunity and spat out a black smoke. Wang Daoyuan instantly came back to his senses. He threw out another golden sword talisman and used the smoke escape technique again, disappearing from his original position. The small golden sword hit the black smoke and made a zzz sound of corrosion. Then, there was the sound of metal colliding and the small golden sword disappeared. Although this attack did not succeed, it was enough to test the black-robed old man's strength. This guy's strength was probably at the late stage of Qi disciple. He was obviously not at the peak of Qi disciple. Other than controlling demonic beasts, he was not good at fighting alone. If there were no demonic beasts or loose cultivators to block the blade for him, Wang Daoyuan would not need the talisman. He could just use the profound yang sword to chop him alive. The black smoke that the black-robed old man spat out contained a metal-concealed weapon. It had already been repelled by the golden sword talisman. The black smoke mixed with the clouds and once again made a zzz sound of corrosion. A moment later, the sound of corrosion stopped and the black smoke disappeared without a trace. A large part of the clouds was also corroded. The black-robed old man had a pained expression. His black smoke was painstakingly cultivated. Wang Daoyuan did not care. The water spirit energy here was rich. Most of the clouds he used to use the smoke escape technique were formed from the external water spirit energy, so his consumption was very little. At this time, Wang Daoyuan had already figured out the black-robed old man's strength. He was not worried that he could not beat him. This guy was already so old and had not cultivated to the peak of Qi disciple. He was also not a very talented person. However, he could control demonic beasts and living people. He must have spent all his time in these aspects. His own ability was not very good. If this continued, Wang Daoyuan would definitely be the winner. However, what he wanted was not to defeat his opponent, but to kill him. If you don't kill the snake, you will cause harm to yourself. If the black-robed old man was allowed to escape, he would madly attack the various properties of the Wang family in the future. Then, the Wang family's mines and forests would not be able to be guarded. Wang Daoyuan did not use his true ability at this time, mainly because he was afraid of scaring the black-robed old man. If he directly started to scatter talismans, 3 golden sword talismans would be able to deal with the 3 demonic beasts. However, that would scare the black-robed old man into retreating. No one knew if there were other passages in the stone wall. If he scared the old man into escaping through other passages, there would be a lot of restrictions inside. Even if he used talismans, it would still take some time. By the time he broke the restrictions, the old man would have already run far away. At that time, Wang Daoyuan would not even be able to find a place to cry. The best way was to show weakness first and give the black-robed old man hope of victory. If he was unwilling to leave, then he would find an opportunity to sneak attack and kill him. Wang Daoyuan tangled with the 3 demonic beasts for a while. His profound yang sword was not considered sharp. Previously, he had spent a lot of effort fighting the giant python. These 3 demonic beasts were even more powerful. Without talismans, there was no chance of killing them. After fighting with the 3 demonic beasts for a while, he used the same trick again. He used smoke escape and instantly appeared beside the black-robed old man. Then, he threw out another golden sword talisman. However, the black-robed old man was already prepared. He took out a pitch-black shield and blocked the small golden sword. The sound of metal colliding rang out. Wang Daoyuan guessed that this was a metal attribute magic tool. Just as he was about to take out a fire attribute talisman, the black-robed old man spat out another cloud of black smoke. Wang Daoyuan blocked it with his sword. The black-robed old man sneered, as if victory was already in his grasp. With a crisp ding sound, a pitch-black needle-like magic tool hit the profound Yang's sword and was bounced away. The black smoke also followed suit, enveloping the profound Yang's sword. Wang Daoyuan drew a sword flower, dispersing the black smoke that was attached to the sword. Once again, he used smoke escape to escape. When Wang Daoyuan appeared, the black-robed old man was stunned. The profound Yang's sword that he expected to be corroded beyond recognition was actually intact. Wang Daoyuan was not surprised at all. When he first bought the profound Yang's sword, Zhao Liang, that profiteer, had bragged about the profound Yang's sword's unafraid of corrosion. Even if the profound Yang's sword was crippled, there was nothing to pity. His main strength was talismans, followed by smoke escape and water dragon technique. The profound Yang's sword was nothing. It seemed that the black-robed old man felt that his profound Yang's sword was very important, so he used it as bait to lure him out. However, his shield was also very troublesome. The golden sword talisman had no practical effect on it. He still had to find a fire attribute attack talisman to cripple the shield. Chapter 69. Wang Daoyuan continued to use the sneak attack strategy. After fighting with the 3 monsters for a while, he used the cloud escape to attack the black-robed old man. However, he no longer used the golden sword talisman. Instead, he used the fire arrow talisman, fire python talisman and other fire attribute talismans. He didn't expect to be effective in one blow. He just wanted to completely destroy the old man's shield. Among the 5 elements, fire suppressed metal. In terms of consumption, using the fire attribute to consume metal was the fastest. After fighting for more than 10 rounds, it seemed that Wang Daoyuan was crazily using the escape technique, but in fact, the consumption of spiritual power was not much. The cloud escape consumed spiritual power mainly from the outside world's water spiritual power. He also used talismans to attack the black-robed old man. It only required a little spiritual power or divine sense to activate the talismans. If the outside world's water spiritual power was relatively thin, Wang Daoyuan's spiritual power would have been exhausted. Even so, after fighting with the giant python and then being besieged by the 3 monsters, plus using the water dragon technique, he consumed 60% of his spiritual power. The black-robed old man was not much better off. He was constantly activating the black shield, which consumed a lot of spirit energy. Furthermore, his shield had been smashed full of holes by Wang Daoyuan, some of which had almost penetrated the shield. Wang Daoyuan estimated that this shield could at most withstand the attack of 2 or 3 first-order high-grade fire attribute talismans. After that, it would be completely destroyed. However, he didn't dare to continue attacking. If he directly broke the shield and scared the black-robed old man, his opponent would run away. Wang Daoyuan wouldn't even have a place to cry. It was impossible to kill the opponent with a sneak attack, unless he used the last golden sword talisman. However, that was a life-saving thing. Unless the black-robed old man was determined to escape, he really didn't want to use it. Since he couldn't use force, he could only lure the black-robed old man out and kill him. Under normal circumstances, Wang Daoyuan used so many spells and had been wearing the water dragon armor. His spiritual power should be close to exhaustion. At this time, it was reasonable to escape. Determined to lure the enemy, Wang Daoyuan dodged the monster's attack and used the cloud escape again. As soon as Wang Daoyuan disappeared, the black-robed old man immediately activated his shield to defend. By the time Wang Daoyuan appeared, he realized that Wang Daoyuan had already escaped downstream along the underground river. In order to make his act more realistic, Wang Daoyuan put away the water dragon armor and stuffed an essence recovery pill and a spirit cleansing pill into his mouth to recover his spiritual power and divine sense. The black-robed old man finally believed that Wang Daoyuan really couldn't hold on any longer. He had been operating in this underground river for many years. If Wang Daoyuan escaped and brought the experts of the Wang family to clean up this place, he wouldn't be able to stop them. However, he did not want to give up this nest that he had spent so much effort on. Therefore, he could only try his best to keep Wang Daoyuan here. Wang Daoyuan used a divine movement talisman. His speed was very fast, and he was about to disappear from his line of sight. The black-robed old man didn't have time to weigh the pros and cons. He immediately went to the back of the crocodile and ordered the 3 monster beasts to chase after Wang Daoyuan. Although the 3 monster beasts' cultivation wasn't high, they were still aquatic monsters. Their speed in the underground river couldn't be underestimated. In order to lure the black-robed old man to chase after him, Wang Daoyuan didn't use the water escape talisman. Instead, he used the divine movement talisman, relying on his 2 legs to run. In the water, his speed was greatly limited, and the distance was shortened. Wang Daoyuan secretly drank some of the 30-year-old scarlet blood wine to recover his spiritual power. He didn't want to run out of spiritual power. It had to be said that this 30-year-old wine was really strong. It replenished spiritual power very quickly, and it didn't go to the head. After drinking a few cups, Wang Daoyuan's spiritual power was almost recovered. The black-robed old man chased closer and closer. When he was several feet away from Wang Daoyuan turned around and threw out 3 golden sword talismans. The 2 pythons' heads were directly pierced, and they frantically struggled on the ground. However, death was only a matter of time. The golden sword that shot towards the crocodile was blocked by the black-robed old man's shield. The black-robed old man was full of smiles, as if victory was already in his hands. This place was already more than 10 miles away from the black-robed old man's lair. At such a distance, even if Wang Daoyuan revealed his true ability, he wouldn't be able to escape. Wang Daoyuan simply stopped pretending and put away the profound yang sword. In any case, this sword wasn't very useful. It took him half a day to kill a mid-grade rank 1 monster beast. He took out 2 talismans, a golden armor talisman and an earth armor talisman. After activating them, his body was enveloped in 2 layers of armor. Then, he used the cloud escape and instantly appeared behind the black-robed old man, blocking his retreat. 3 fire arrow talismans were thrown out, transforming into 3 arrows made of flames, aiming straight at the black-robed old man. The black-robed old man once again used his shield to block. The shield didn't disappoint and blocked the 3 fire arrows. However, it also lost its spiritual power and was completely scrapped. Wang Daoyuan took out another golden sword talisman. The black-robed old man's movement technique didn't seem to be very good and couldn't dodge in time. In the end, the crocodile blocked the golden sword talisman for him. Wang Daoyuan was still a little confused. Whether it was a monster beast or a rogue cultivator from before, why would they risk their lives to save someone? However, with his previous experience, he didn't hesitate and threw out another golden sword talisman. The black-robed old man once again spat out a cloud of black smoke. Wang Daoyuan had experience. There were needle-type concealed weapons hidden in the black smoke. The black smoke was also corrosive. He immediately used the cloud escape and dodged far away. Wang Daoyuan dodged far away. The black-robed old man chanted an incantation and an ancient brass bell appeared between his eyebrows. Although this yellow bell looked very old and dim, the power it exuded was not to be underestimated. The moment the brass bell appeared, Wang Daoyuan felt a sense of danger, as if his life was in danger. He immediately used the water dragon technique and turned it into a water dragon armor. Then, he used the cloud escape to get away from the black-robed old man. As soon as he appeared, the brass bell let out a loud bell sound. Although the bell sound wasn't ear-piercing, it had the effect of directly attacking one's soul. When Wang Daoyuan heard the bell sound, he felt a splitting headache, as if someone had smashed his head with a big hammer. This bell sound was indeed too powerful. Just one bell sound was enough to make people faint. This was the result of the 2 of them being more than 30 meters apart. If they were closer, this sound would have directly injured his soul and he wouldn't have been able to stay awake. Although keeping a distance could reduce the damage caused by the bell sound, it also made it impossible for him to pose a threat to the black-robed old man. Wang Daoyuan had lived for 20 years, but this was the first time he had seen a magic weapon that used sound to attack. This kind of magic weapon was relatively rare and generally had the effect of attacking one's soul. In the family's ancient books, there was only a brief introduction to this kind of magic weapon. There was no way to break it. This was big trouble. Who would have thought that this guy hiding in an underground rat hole would have a magic weapon that could release sound waves? No one knew how to break it. At this point, he was no longer worried about his opponent escaping and coming back to take revenge on the Wang family. Instead, he was worried about whether he would be able to leave alive. The family only mentioned the existence of sound wave magic weapons. They didn't mention any advantages or disadvantages. Who knew how many times this black-robed old man could strike it? If this magic weapon wasn't strenuous, then after a few more strikes, Wang Daoyuan would undoubtedly die. You're tuning in to the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.